beautiful Serafina. Has poor Serafina played enough? Those puppet shows on the stage. A hand in a black glove suddenly tightens the silk threads. She is the most dazzling protagonist in this world under the spotlight. My friend, Serafina Lopez. Serafina, haven't you played enough with those puppets on the stage? A fair hand pinches two crude cloth dolls. You should bid a final farewell to these clingy toys. Serafina turns sideways, her green hair fluttering in the wind. A fist suddenly tightens, and the puppet shatters in her palm. Scraps and cotton stuffing fly like splatter debris. I will destroy this puppet show you put on for everyone. Farewell, you hypocrite. The palace banquet hall is exactly as expected. The banquet hall is teeming with people. Miss Lopez is surrounded by nobles eager to converse. There isn't even a place to step. Truly worthy of being the darling of the social world. I really want to go over and say hello. Two noble women hold their wine glasses, their gaze piercing through the crowd to land on the center of attention in the distance. But that person isn't by her side today. Are you talking about Miss Aniche? The one who always follows Lopez like a shadow? That's right, the woman who always voluntarily runs errands. Every ball before, she dressed so shabbily, I thought she was a maid from somewhere. She used to stick to Lopez as if she had separation anxiety. I wonder where she went today. Lariette enters the venue with elegant steps, her long hair draped like silk, drawing the sideways glances of everyone around. Who is that lady? She's so elegant. Lariette stops and tilts her head slightly. Was that lady just now? Those harsh words spat from the mouths of passers-by used to be the labels the social world pinned on me. An errand-running servant, Serafina's sidekick, enduring a clingy dependence akin to separation anxiety, even reduced to being a lowly shoe wipe. These nicknames, you let people call me that on purpose, didn't you? Serafina Lopez turns her face slightly. A cold arc curls at the corner of her mouth. A pink-haired noblewoman covers her face in amazement, her eyes closely following that profound figure. Which family's daughter is that? She's so beautiful. This dress is indeed beautiful, but unfortunately, it no longer suits the current me. Serafina sits on a red velvet bench, her green hair spread over her pink floral dress. She folds her hands over her knees. The surrounding discussion surges like a tide. Miss Lopez, would you be willing to dance a song with me today? Please consider me. I've been waiting for a long time. To me, you're the only dance partner. Serafina sits on the red bench, gently brushing the green hair by her ear. A shy smile hangs on her lips. Oh my, you saying things like that really makes me embarrassed. You are as beloved as ever, Serafina. Truly the recognized, most beautiful woman in today's social circles. Lariette walks through the noisy crowd. Gentlemen, please wait a moment. Serafina, I'm here. Serafina looks up, a flash of complex emotion in her eyes. Ah, Larry, sorry to keep you waiting. Because we moved separately, it took a little time. The surrounding noblemen freeze in place, their gazes locked onto that figure. Wait, is that Miss Aniche? Is this beautiful lady really her? Two noble women huddle together, their eyes vacillating between Lariette and Serafina. Is that really the gloomy woman from before? She's like a completely different person. And that dress isn't a custom piece from Madame Sonov. Even the hair accessories are the latest from the Sherman brand. Top-tier items like these. I'm afraid even Miss Lopez doesn't have them. Shoo, lower your voice. She'll hear you. Serafina's hands on her knees suddenly clench, her fingertips sinking deep into the fabric of her pink floral dress. She slowly stands up, her voice devoid of ups and downs. Laurie, you must have been looking forward to today's ball. You actually spent so much effort preparing. Serafina raises her hand and leans close to Lariette's ear. Her voice is barely audible. But what should we do? This dress and jewelry don't seem to suit you. Your looks are too ordinary. Wearing such luxurious attire, don't you feel it's out of place? Serafina lowers her gaze, her expression tinged with a hint of pity. You must have spent a lot of money. It's such a pity. If you had told me earlier, I would have chosen something more suitable for you. After all, I'm the one who knows you best. Laurie, are you saying these words to me on purpose? Evangeline suddenly snaps her folding fan shut. A crisp sound rings out. The surrounding nobles move aside as a commotion breaks out in the crowd. Ah, that's Lady Claudius. Evangeline closes her deep blue fan, her blonde hair falling over her shoulders like a waterfall. Actually, I picked that dress myself. If Serafina is the lily of the social world, then at this moment, the most brilliant and dazzling rose is none other than this one, Evangeline von Claudius. The only daughter of the Empire's sole ducal family. Serafina, the person standing by my side now, is no longer you. an unbelievable commotion erupts. Nobles look at each other, whispering shocking news. Why would Miss Claudius stand on her side? Why is Miss Claudius appearing here? Evangeline turns her head and watches the stiff Serafina, a playful smile on her lips. Are you very close with Laurie? She reaches out and intimately puts her arm around Lariette's shoulder. Laurie's look today was entirely handled by me personally. But looking at everyone's reaction, your evaluation doesn't seem very accurate, Serafina. Serafina's eyes widen. What? She actually called that woman by a nickname directly. Evangeline narrows her eyes slightly. You say these clothes don't suit her. Are you questioning my taste as not being elegant enough? Serafina's face instantly turns pale, her lips trembling, but she can't make a sound. No, I didn't mean it that way. Evangeline gives a light laugh and leads Lariette in an elegant turn. Compared to mediocre people who only know how to judge others, Laurie is clearly much more beautiful. Evangeline tilts her head slightly, her gaze carrying an unquestionable majesty. Don't you think so? The surrounding noblemen swallow hard, their expressions becoming cramped and flustered. Yes, I completely didn't expect Miss Aniche to be so beautiful. Miss Claudius's aesthetic eye is truly amazing. I'm certain she is definitely the most eye-catching lady at tonight's ball. Serafina stands not far away, her originally rosy cheeks turning deathly pale in an instant. She lowers her head, her shoulders starting to shake violently. Her voice carries a distinct sob. Laurie, how can you do this to me? I was just giving you advice as a friend. Are you treating me like this just because you got to know the Duke's daughter? Serafina raises her hand to cover her face, tears slipping through her fingers. Evangeline watches this scene coldly and lets out a contemptuous sneer. Because you can't refute me, you've started attacking Laurie? Please stop using tears to cover up your mistakes, Miss Lopez. Also, remember that friends shouldn't order each other around. She reaches out and firmly clasps the back of Lariette's hand. If you still want to maintain this relationship, shouldn't you apologize to Laurie first? Evangeline withdraws her gaze, no longer looking at that tear-streaked face. Let's go, Laurie. Lariette follows obediently behind her. All right, Miss Claudius. Serafina stands alone in the shadows, a muffled sob escaping her throat. She suddenly looks up, eyes still filled with tears, but her expression instantly becomes dark and terrifying. Miss Claudius. Miss Claudius, thank you for helping me just now. Evangeline stops in her tracks, her voice cold and clear. Listen carefully. I didn't give you this dress because I like you. If the person standing next to me looks shabby, it would make me feel humiliated. She turns her face slightly. The reason I spoke up is because I don't like my people being looked down upon by others. Evangeline turns around, her expression becoming a bit unnatural. To prevent this from happening again, just stay honestly by my side from now on. Do you understand? Lariette raises a finger and lightly touches her lower lip, a subtle smile flickering in her red eyes. Truly worthy of the rumored villainess. She lifts her elaborate white skirt and quickly catches up with the proud figure ahead. Of course, I will always stay by your side, Miss Claudius. You are everything to me. Evangeline's eyes widen. She allows Lariette to firmly hold her hands. This is simply the best ending. A few weeks ago, at the Johnson Manor Tea Party, sunlight pierces through the lush foliage, spilling onto the empty lawn and the neatly arranged tables and chairs. This is the world of Lariette Aniche. What is going on? The current me has actually become her. She looks around, her vision blocked by the thick cushions piled in her arms, making it impossible to see the road ahead. This absurd situation was only realized after she possessed the body. Lariette stands in place somewhat hurriedly, clutching the cushions in her arms. Sarah, are you okay? A man dressed in luxurious clothing approaches her, looking with concern at the green-haired girl sitting on the bench. I was worried you'd be tired, so I specifically brought cushions. Gregory kneels beside the bench, reaching out to lightly touch Serafina's shoulder, his tone full of concern. You've been sitting for so long. Do you feel tired? Did your back hurt? Serafina reaches out to cover Gregory's hand. Thank you. Gregory, I'm Fine. She looks up with a sweet smile on her lips. You're so thoughtful. I'm glad you're so worried about me. Those two, they're my childhood friends. Although this is the first time I've seen them with my own eyes, I can feel that our relationship was once very close. Lariette withdraws her gaze, a hint of confusion in her eyes. But the memory says he is clearly my fiancé. So what exactly is he doing now? Gregory picks up an exquisite teacup and hands it to Serafina. Sarah, this is your favorite Darjeeling. Drink it while it's hot. Serafina takes the cup. Thank you, Gregory. I really should thank Countess Johnson. This tea party has brought back many childhood memories. She takes a sip of black tea. The three of us used to go on outings together, right? Remember the time Laurie fell into the water? It was really terrifying. Gregory turns his head. That's right. You even have a scar left on your beautiful knee from saving Laurie. He turns to look at Lariette, his tone becoming cold and stern. Laurie, you're only alive today because of Serafina. So, you should be grateful. Be nicer to her in the future. She bends over, holding the cushions. Why can't I refute him? My lips are too heavy to lift. Another memory suddenly awakens in her mind. It was the day she fell into the pond as a child. Lariette fell into the ice-cold water. She desperately reached up, but her fingertips could only touch breaking bubbles. The feeling of suffocation followed her like a shadow. Serafina stood on the bank, her green hair fluttering in the wind. She held a long, thin stick in her hand, extending it toward the struggling young Lariette to pull her to the shore. The person who saved me was indeed Serafina. Lariette suddenly grips the grass on the bank, her fingertips sinking deep into the mud. She crawls onto the bank in a mess, soaked through, curled up on the lawn, coughing violently and gasping for air. Serafina walks to her side, looking down at her. Laurie, are you okay? Serafina stands in the sunlight with a gentle yet cold smile on her lips. You should be more careful. She picks up her teacup and takes an elegant sip. Was everything just to make me owe this unpayable debt of gratitude? Is that why she is so submissive? Doing whatever she's asked without a word. Serafina lets out a startled cry, the teacup in her hand tilting slightly. Oh my! Lariette's eyes widen. Wait. Serafina tightly grabs Lariette's wrist. Laurie, I need your help. Can you help me pick those flowers in the pond? I can't reach them. She pulls Lariette toward the edge of the pond with a pure, innocent smile on her face. You know, you're my only friend, right? Serafina opens her arms and easily embraces Lariette. Serafina, the real reason I fell into the water was actually because of you, wasn't it? Oh no, I accidentally spilled my tea. What should I do? Laurie, my dress is wet, and my shoelace seems loose too. I'm really a mess right now. She lightly brushes her chest with her right hand, her eyes reflecting a sense of entitlement. Can you come over and help me? Lariette stands in place, holding the heavy cushions. Why did I ever endure this kind of person before? Gregory suddenly turns around, his brow furrowed. Laurie, what are you doing? Sarah is in trouble now. Hurry over and help her. He walks quickly toward Serafina, reaching out to support her shoulder with gentle and urgent movements. Sarah, don't worry. Laurie will come to help you right away. In the distance, noble ladies gather, their gazes sweeping back and forth over Lariette. Whispers spread through the air. Miss Aniche is working like a maid again. It seems that's the only way she can stay by Miss Lopez's side, even though she heard those harsh mocks. Why is this body still obeying involuntarily? She kneels on the grass, her hands humbly arranging the hem of Serafina's dress. The surrounding discussions intensify. She is the successor of Viscount Aniche, yet she kneels on the ground without any dignity. She's simply Miss Lopez's sidekick. That dark, gloomy dress makes her look even more like a lowly servant. With Aniche as a foil, Miss Lopez's beauty is indeed more outstanding, isn't it? Lariette Aniche, you heard those insults. Do you really intend to just sit here and wait for death? They're looking down on you from a height, manipulating your strings as if you were a puppet. Lariette suddenly looks up, a fire of anger igniting in her red eyes. Aren't you even a little bit angry? Lariette, don't give up as easily as it's written in the books. Absolutely do not silently endure all of this. Get lost, you eyesore. Lariette lets out a roar, her arms suddenly exerting force to flip Serafina over from her high position. Her movements are decisive and ruthless. Serafina lets out a scream, her body losing balance and toppling backward. She falls heavily. She falls onto the grass, lying on her back in a mess. Serafina's eyes are wide, her cheeks flushed with extreme shock. Her hands are frozen in midair, completely unable to understand. What happened? Gregory glares forward in anger. Lariette, are you crazy? What on earth are you doing? Lariette looks down at her right hand, her fingers trembling slightly in the air. Oh, she slowly raises her head, her dark hair floating in the breeze. Her originally stiff body now feels incredibly light. I can finally act according to my own will. In a novel titled Lovely Serafina, Sarah once lived in a remote, small village. Although she wasn't wealthy, she always generously helped the poor. This was a performance born of her kind heart. People were moved by this innocence and worked together to fund her entry into the social world. Everyone hoped she would find a good man. However, because of Evangeline Claudius's jealousy and malice, she had to face cruel trials. Brave sera overcome. That all hardships. They finally found true love and lived happily ever after. In this story, I'm just a childhood friend with zero presence. Even in the illustrations, there's only a view of my back. She raises her hand to her forehead. A character whose face is hidden is truly obviously pathetic. And then Gregory rushes forward. Sarah, are you okay? Should I call a doctor? A flash of ruthlessness appears in Sarah's eyes. That two-faced girl is the real protagonist of this story. Gregory turns his head sharply. Lariette, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and apologize. Sarah nestles weakly in his arms. It's okay, Gregory. The surrounding whispers surge like a tide. Miss Lopez really fell flat on her back just now. Did she push her down on purpose because of young Master Gregory? After all, she was originally Viscount and niche fiancé. I should have told you to be nicer to Sarah earlier. Sarah suddenly lets out a soft cry. Her body sways as she falls back. Gregory, I feel dizzy. It's happening again. She raises her tear-filled eyes to look at the red-faced man in front of her. Can I lean on you for a moment? I was really scared just now. I feel like I'm gonna cry. Gregory grinds his teeth, his cheeks flushed with anger. If anything happens to the fragile Sarah, how do you plan to take responsibility, Lariette? He turns abruptly and carefully supports Sarah, who is slumped on the ground. Sarah, it's okay. I'll call a doctor right away. Lariette stands quietly in place. I understand. So, could you please keep your voice down? Do they want to make me jealous? This clumsy acting is truly disgusting. She takes a deep breath to calm the waves in her heart. Help her up first. I will apologize. Sarah turns her head slightly, a mocking glint appearing in her eyes. Lariette keenly captures that look, a sense of doubt rising in her heart. What does that expression mean? According to the script, shouldn't she be looking down now, looking like she's about to die, and waiting for me to apologize? Lariette, what is wrong with you? Why have you suddenly become so unreasonable? As Miss Nietzsche said, wouldn't it be better to stand up first? Countess Johnson folds her hands in front of her. Young Master Gregory and Miss Lopez, to ensure our distinguished guests are not harmed, we have made full preparations in advance. Do you need to be sent to the lounge? Gregory suddenly looks up, his eyes wide. Just laying down a carpet. You dare call that full preparation? Fragile Sarah could suffer serious injury, even from a tiny impact. I think it's safer to just call a doctor directly. Countess Johnson watches this scene in silence. What? What nonsense are you talking about? The meticulously manicured soft lawn is covered with the highest quality carpet, and even the refreshments were prepared in advance, according to the guests' tastes. Dozens of maids are lined up, ready to assist guests at any time. Gregory, your words just now completely ignored the host's thoughtfulness. Aniche raises her hand to massage her temple. There are thick, soft cushions everywhere. If Sarah fell on those, do you really think she would be hurt? If rumors spread that someone was injured at the tea party, the host's reputation would be ruined instantly. I will never allow such a thing to happen. She takes a step forward. I apologize to you, Countess Johnson. The accident just now happened while I was checking Miss Sarah's shoes. Because of my mistake, a commotion was caused. I am very sorry for making everyone worry. She bows deeply, her posture humble, yet her tone calm. Gregory is stunned, falling while checking shoes. What kind of ridiculous situation is this? Lariette raises her hand and lightly brushes her hair. Since the shoelaces are tied tightly, it's even stranger. Should I have checked more carefully? Sarah suddenly pulls back her foot, her body stiff with alarm. Lariette folds her hands. I am sorry, Serafina. I only touched you lightly. I didn't expect your body to be so frail that you would fall like that. Can you forgive me for this stupid mistake? She slowly extends her right hand. Just like before, I will gently help you up. You should be able to do it, right? Wait a minute. Are you saying Miss Lopez deliberately made Miss Aniche kneel? Countess Johnson supports her chest with one hand, a hint of scrutiny in her eyes. Sarah looks up, her face filled with panic. Oh no, there must be some misunderstanding. Miss Lopez even spilled her tea. She must have been flustered at the time. Miss Aniche just wanted to go over and help clean up, after all. Countess Johnson watches her in silence. I understand. Please stand up first. I will send someone to handle the mess here. She turns to the maids waiting beside her and gives an order to escort the guests out. The maids bow respectfully. Yes. Countess Johnson walks away. I hope you can continue to enjoy your time, Miss Lopez. Sarah stands frozen in place. Countess. Lariette turns her head slightly. This is the first time you've experienced this feeling, right? Serafina. The feeling of being completely ignored. This is a taste I've endured for a lifetime. She turns around, letting her long hair fly in the wind, leaving Sarah behind to cry out in despair. Countess. Please wait a moment. A few days later, at the Oniche Viscount's mansion, sunlight spills onto the magnificent exterior walls of the building. Everything seems quiet and solemn. A maid gently pushes open the heavy wooden door with a slight click. Miss Lopez and Master Gusto have been sending letters. There's also this one. Lariette sits at her desk, a quill pen gripped in her hand. Without looking back, she interrupts the other. Throw all those things into the fireplace. I have more important things to deal with, so I'll leave those letters to you to handle that way. The maid bows respectfully. As you wish, my lady. Lariette picks up the document on the table. That's right, this is the most urgent matter in my life. What else could it be? On the white paper, several cold words are written. Application for annulment of engagement. Lariette holds the wooden seal and presses it into the hot red wax. This should be enough. Having referenced other cases, this document is now perfect. I must cut off contact with them as soon as possible. Even if there's only one goal now, I won't let people who treat me like a maid disturb me anymore. Gregory, although born into a count's family, is only a second son who cannot inherit the title. Of course he wants to marry me. After all, I am the heir to a viscount with land. As long as he marries me, he can simultaneously obtain status and territory. My parents saw through his true nature and once tried desperately to stop this marriage. This is enough to explain the essence of this engagement. Lariette presses the envelope onto the desk. For the peace of the Oniche family, this letter must be sent out as soon as possible. She takes the envelope and walks toward the door. The door is suddenly pushed open. Gregory strides into the room, his breathing rapid, his expression dark. He looks anxious. Lariette retreats half a step in shock. Gregory stands at the boundary of light and shadow, his brow furrowed, his eyes reflecting suppressed anger. The maid follows closely behind, appearing at the door with a panicked bow. Miss, I wanted to ask him to wait in the drawing room first, but it's okay. You and Hans wait outside first. The maid withdraws obediently, gently closing the door. Lariette raises her fingertips and gently rubs her aching temples. Gregory, do you really intend to just barge in like this? Lariette, how rude can you be? He disregards etiquette and questions her loudly. You don't reply to letters. You even ignore my summons. Are you crazy? Barging into my room without knocking. Gregory, aren't you the crazier one? She raises her chin slightly, her tone steady and cold. I was sick, so I couldn't reply to letters. Is there some emergency? Gregory takes a step closer. After you left like that on the day of the picnic, do you know how much trouble I got into? Hurry up and apologize to Sarah and me. Ew. Lariette suddenly bends over and presses the back of her hand to her lips, coughing violently. Cough, cough, cough. She looks up slightly. What did you just say? I didn't hear clearly because of the coughing. Could you please say it again? Gregory freezes in place, his mouth slightly open, his expression appearing somewhat at a loss. Don't I even have a right to fake an illness? Dealing with your nonsense is a waste of my time and energy. Lariette sits back in her chair. Gregory, apologize. Shouldn't the person who needs to apologize be you? Refusing to wait in the drawing room and instead forcing your way into a ladies' room. This is incredibly rude. Gregory grinds his teeth, veins popping on his forehead. But I am your fiancé. This level of casualness. Lariette interrupts him coldly. You had better choose your words carefully. Gregory, starting for the picnic when you put Serafina first and then sending a string of harassing letters for several days. Is that how a fiancé should act? Gregory spreads his hands, his tone carrying a sense of natural arrogance. Sarah is my childhood friend, so I stayed by her side. Don't you worry about her at all? He lets out a cold laugh. That's right, Lariette. You've never had even a little bit of consideration. Who would want to maintain an engagement with an inconsiderate woman like you? You'd better watch your words before I decide to forgive you. Lariette holds the envelope between her fingers and slowly lifts it. You're right. I was thinking the same thing. She closes her eyes, a brilliant and gentle smile blooming on her face. This is our application for the annulment of our engagement. I will do as you wish. Gregory's pupils tremble with shock. What do you mean these past few days? You've been so busy taking care of your precious childhood sweetheart that you didn't even notice your own fiancé was sick. I don't want a man like that anymore. So let's break up? If you don't want to accept it, I'll send the notice myself. I need more rest now. So could you please leave, Gregory? Gregory took a flustered step back. Laurie, you actually... Laurie turned slightly and raised her hand to cover her mouth. Amy, Hans, our guest is leaving. Please be sure to see him out politely. As you wish, my lady. The burly butler, Hans, stood at the door like a heavy stone tower. Sir Gregory, I shall escort you to your carriage. Gregory, overshadowed by Hans's broad silhouette, subconsciously recoiled. Since you say you're ill, I'll take my leave for now. But regarding the dissolution of our engagement, we'll talk later. Hans and Amy closed in from both sides, forcibly leading him out of the room. He looked like a piece of baggage being dragged away. Finally, she had gotten rid of him. Laurie leaned against the wall. First, her fiancé forced his way in. Then she was accused of being crazy. Was she to suffer this kind of harassment just for annoying the protagonist? Laurie slumped into an armchair. Living as a side character was pure torture. She really wanted to rest for a while. Even if the engagement was broken, would her life truly change? The people of this world revolved around the protagonist, loving her unconditionally. It was a setting engraved in them from birth. She was the center of this world. As a side character, could I really not completely escape the protagonist's trap? Come to think of it, I'm not the only one manipulated by Sarah and fallen into misery. Evangeline Claudius, that notorious villainess who, in the story, constantly caused suffering and misfortune for Sarah. The male lead, Duke Claudius, inevitably became entangled with Sarah to stop his sister's evil deeds. According to the original timeline, Sarah shouldn't have made contact with Lady Claudius yet, but the situation has already become quite tricky. Sarah has started spreading false rumors everywhere, maliciously slandering those who stand in her way. Laurie's eyes suddenly widened. Wait, thinking about it carefully, Sarah is the real villain, isn't she? Lariette raised her glass and drained the red liquid in one gulp. It was clearly Sarah who picked the fight first. Why should she get to harass Lady Claudius? Laurie set down her glass and let out a heavy sigh. Both that lady and I are victims of unprovoked harassment. Perhaps we can make Sarah taste the consequences of her own actions. If I join forces with Lady Claudius, who shares my plight, what will happen to the story? Can't we break this agonizing cliche? A deep curve formed at the corners of her mouth, right? This will work. Lariette stood up from her seat. I've thought of a brilliant idea. The next morning, a letter sealed with wax was slowly opened with a paper knife. Evangeline sat on a soft chair by the window and unfolded the letter, her eyes scanning the handwriting. She tilted her head slightly, a playful smile appearing on her lips. Duke Claudius walked in and watched her rare smile. Evangeline, who is the letter from that makes you so happy? Actually, I've never heard of her before, but I can say for sure that this young lady is quite bold. Evangeline picked up an exquisite teacup and took a sip of black tea. Laurie rested her chin on her folded hands, her eyes filled with unconcealed anxiety. Amy, is that true? The maid, Amy, stood by the bed and bowed slightly. Yes. Yesterday, you indeed. Laurie recalled her absurd actions from the day before. Amy, send this letter to Lady Claudius. As quickly as possible. She absolutely must see it. Amy spread her hands helplessly, her brow furrowed. You've said that more than 10 times already. Laurie suddenly collapsed onto the bed. I'm going crazy. I'm really going crazy. I don't even remember what I wrote in the letter. Even if I wanted to send a letter, I shouldn't have written it while drunk. Laurie closed her eyes in pain. I really wish I could go back to yesterday. What if I wrote something strange or the whole thing is full of typos? The door was pushed open gently, and a maid walked into the room hurriedly. My lady, a guest has arrived. What should we do? Laurie looked confused. A guest? Who is it? The maid bowed slightly and lowered her voice. It's Miss Lopez. Laurie's gaze instantly turned cold. Even after sending Gregory over, she still hadn't gotten the apology she wanted, so now she plans to come and cause trouble in person. She stood up. Mary, Amy, tell the young lady. Laurie raised her hand to tidy her hair at the temples, a cold smile on her lips. Say I'm feeling unwell. If she wants to see me, tell her to come up herself. Sorry, Sarah, but I'm not in the mood to play this boring game with you anymore. Sarah suddenly pushed open the door. Laurie, I heard you're not feeling well. Are you okay? She walked in quickly and grabbed Laurie's hand, her eyes full of concern. You just said you weren't feeling well. How are you now? Laurie calmly withdrew her hand. Thank you for your concern. I'm feeling much better now. Sarah looked around, her tone carrying a hint of testing. I thought you couldn't even stand up. You've never called me to your room before. Laurie lowered her eyes to hide the coldness within. Since I'm unwell, why should I force myself to go to the parlor to see you? That's right. In the past, you always called me over. I never even sat in your family's parlor once. That feeling, it was more like being a maid on call than a guest. If you really miss me that much, I'm sorry. Serafina. Sarah looked at her in silence. Oh, my Laurie. Sarah leaned down, her hands tightly gripping the other's shoulders. If you had said something sooner, I really didn't know you felt this way all along. Laurie stared at the other's reflection, her breathing becoming heavy. Her body began to tremble involuntarily. This was physiological fear. A single sentence from Sarah could still make this shell of a body shudder. But I can no longer remain silent. I must overcome her. Laurie, if I could just speak confidently like I did just now, The door was slammed open. The maid, Amy, holding an envelope high, rushed into the room. My lady, a reply. A reply has arrived. What? Amy stood there panting. Lady Claudius. That has sent a reply. Laurie's eyes widened. Is that true? Amy nodded vigorously. The Duke's family even sent a carriage directly. This is definitely an invitation. Understood. We'd better start preparing immediately. Sarah stood to the side, her expression becoming dark and solemn. Lady Claudius? Why would she send you a letter? The lady had actually sent an invitation. Sarah stepped forward quickly, her tone becoming sharp and urgent. Laurie, stop fooling around. How could you have an invitation that even I haven't received? Her reaction now was far too exaggerated. Sarah suddenly grabbed Laurie's wrist with incredible force. You just said that was a reply. What on earth did you send to the lady? I want to know what you said to get that invitation. Laurie was pulled forward. Sarah's reaction was even more intense than expected. Why was she so obsessed with the lady's affairs? She forcefully shook off Sarah's hand. Even for a friend, this level of prying. That is too much. She turned around, her back to Sarah. Please leave, Serafina. I have to prepare to see the lady now. Sarah froze in place, her eyes full of disbelief. What? Laurie calmly instructed the maid beside her. Amy, please see our guest out. Sarah grit her teeth, her gaze dark as she stared at Laurie's back. Laurie, I'm really worried about you. Has this illness burned your brain? Laurie paused slightly. Who knows? Perhaps my mind has never been as clear as it is now. Then, allow me to see you to your carriage, Miss Lopez. The door clicked shut. Laurie stood alone in the empty room, looking down at the letter in her hand, her body still trembling slightly. She took a deep breath, and her tense shoulders finally relaxed. Did I really just kick Serafina out? This is the first time. Wow, this feeling is truly amazing. White doves flew past the Grand Ducal Mansion. The carriage slowly pulled up next to the fountain square. Miss Antsy, please come this way. Laurie stood before a magnificent full-length mirror, repeatedly adjusting her elaborate lace bow. I came in such a hurry. Do I still look decent? The lady must have invited me because she liked my letter, right? I just hope she doesn't think I'm a weirdo. The heavy wooden doors were slowly pushed open, and a beam of light poured through the gap. Laurie straightened her back and walked into the drawing room, filled with the scent of flowers. She suddenly stopped, her eyes widening in surprise as she stared at the scene before her. Her breath hitched. Evangeline stood on the terrace, surrounded by flowers, her blonde hair falling like a waterfall over her dark dress. She slowly turned her head, her gaze cold and noble. Laurie froze in place, her breathing completely stopping in that moment. She had read countless novels, but had never felt such a heart-fluttering sensation for any character. Her heartbeat was clearly audible in the silent room. Evangeline turned slightly. Are you? She raised a hand clad in a lace glove and gently brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Miss Antsy, correct? Laurie's mind went blank. She was truly too beautiful. Her heart was beating so fast it felt like it would explode. Evangeline quietly watched the young girl before her. Laurie suddenly snapped out of it, her body stiffening. Ah, yes. She lifted her floral skirt and performed a deep, courtly bow. I am Lariette Antsy, paying my respects to Lady Claudius. Evangeline nodded slightly and pointed to the sofa opposite her. Please have a seat. Laurie sat down carefully. Thank you. I apologize for the sudden invitation. Were you startled? Laurie straightened her chest, sincerity in her eyes. Not at all. Rather, it is my honor. Upon hearing this, Evangeline showed a relieved smile. That's good then. I've prepared Darjeeling tea. I hope it's to your taste. Laurie was overjoyed inside. I love Darjeeling the most. Our tastes are actually exactly the same. Evangeline replied softly, very well. Then please pass me your cup. I'll pour it for you. Laurie suddenly looked up. What did you say? Laurie's hands waved frantically in front of her chest. Is a lowly noble, like me, really going to trouble the lady to pour tea personally? I'm fine, Miss Ancy. Evangeline reached out, her fingertips touching the edge of the porcelain teapot. Have you always been this annoying? Laurie felt like she'd been struck by lightning. Her body jolted, and her pupils constricted in extreme terror. Pardon me, what did you say? Had she made some mistake? It must have been something strange she wrote in the letter. She nervously clenched her fingers. Evangeline reached over and took the teapot. Since you won't take it, I'll serve you myself. Pouring tea isn't exactly a difficult task. She steadily held the handle, and the clear tea flowed into the cup with a faint sound. Why suddenly belittle yourself so much? Judging by that letter, I thought you were a bold girl. She set down the teapot. Anyway, have some tea first. I've also prepared madeleines. You must try them. Laurie stared at the refreshments before her, feeling somewhat dazed. She was right. Her behavior just now was indeed too lowly. Growing up being ordered around and walking on eggshells had become a habit she couldn't break. Laurie picked up the exquisite porcelain cup. The lady was simply treating her like an ordinary guest. This natural courtesy actually made her want to cry. She took a sip of the warm tea, then looked up with a bright smile on her face. The tea tastes wonderful, my lady. Evangeline sat opposite her, quietly watching the young girl. I'm glad you like it. Evangeline crossed her arms and turned her head away with a small huff. I did indeed prepare the finest madeleines. Laurie chuckled behind her hand. So they were the finest. She watched Evangeline. Her expression was a bit cold, but she definitely wasn't a villainess. One could even say she was a gentle person. That such a person would eventually be imprisoned in a convent for bullying Sarah seemed unreasonable no matter how she looked at it. The evil deeds described in the novel felt more like crimes forced upon her to drive the plot. And the starting point of every event always stemmed from those rumors Sarah spread. The more she thought about it, the more suspicious it felt. Compared to the Evangeline before her, Sarah seemed much more like the true villainess. So, what exactly was Sarah, the protagonist, thinking? Evangeline set down her teacup. Miss Ancy, you mentioned in your letter that you have a way to help me restore my reputation, right? Laurie suddenly straightened her back. Yes, I did say that. Evangeline leaned forward slightly, her sharp gaze scrutinizing the other. Can you tell me what that method is? Laurie froze for a moment. She had originally thought it was just a ridiculous drunken fantasy. But now, that sense of absurdity was gradually disappearing. The more she spoke with this lady, the more she could see the possibility of success. A confident curve formed at the corners of her mouth. Her right hand suddenly pressed onto the table. That method is, please become my friend. As long as we side characters unite, we can surely escape our predetermined fates. Evangeline showed a look of disbelief. Friend? Laurie looked at her firmly. Yes, friends, because we share a common enemy. Evangeline's brow furrowed slightly as she whispered the words, a common enemy. Laurie folded her hands on her knees. Before we get to the main point, I'd like to confirm one thing. May I speak about the rumors regarding you in social circles? Evangeline was silent for a moment, letting out a soft breath. She suddenly turned her head and crossed her arms. Suit yourself. Laurie watched the other's tense profile. She looked so arrogant, and Laurie had thought she didn't care about rumors, but it seemed she was actually quite troubled by them. She took a deep breath. To be honest, everyone says you are someone who deeply despises commoners. They even say you are so arrogant that you look down on everyone, which is why. That you don't deign to associate with others. No, that's... Evangeline was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, her fur instantly standing on end as she let out a frustrated cry. To save face, she forced herself to suppress her runaway emotions, her movements freezing awkwardly mid-air. Forget it. Let's just say, Laurie couldn't help but smile at this sight. She was much kinder than described in the novel. Her reactions were as interesting as a cat's. As long as you make friends and show the world your harmonious side, your reputation will naturally recover. If you can lower yourself to be close with a lower-ranking noble like me, people will feel that you are no longer unapproachable. Evangeline lowered her eyes thoughtfully. Even if that's true, who is this common enemy you speak of? Laurie held her breath. It was time to throw out the bait. I suspect that your reputation is currently being targeted by Sarah. Evangeline's eyes snapped open, her pupils trembling with shock. Exactly. She slammed her hand onto the table with a dull thud. Evangeline suddenly stood up. That woman uses other people's kindness to spread rumors. She has no bottom line. She acts frail on the surface, but manipulates everyone behind their backs. Did that woman push trouble onto you too? Seeing the other's excited reaction, the weight in Laurie's heart finally lifted. It seemed she had already noticed Sarah's true face. This was very fortunate for her. Yes, I have also suffered because of her. Evangeline let out a cold snort. I thought your eyes were on the soles of your feet. After all, you used to follow Lopez around like a shadow with your head down. Does she have some kind of dirt on you? Or is there something wrong with your back? My bones were practically breaking just watching you like that. Evangeline stopped smiling, her expression becoming solemn. If this so-called common enemy is Lopez, does that mean you will never associate with that woman again? Laurie's gaze became cold and resolute. As I said, I will never maintain that facade of friendship with Sarah again, because she never saw me as a friend. She didn't even see me. As a human being, if a follower who was once inseparable from her suddenly chooses to join forces with you, people won't just wonder why I left Sarah, they'll speculate about why I chose you. Once these rumors pile up, it will be a heavy blow to Sarah. As long as we keep weakening her reputation, she will eventually show her true colors. Evangeline fell into a long silence. That is indeed not a bad strategy. She stood up and walked slowly toward the terrace. But Miss Ansi, isn't this our first meeting? I don't have enough confidence to take action with you yet. She tilted her head slightly. Have you really cut ties with Lopez? After all, you two were so deeply entangled. Laurie sat quietly. She was doubting her. It wasn't surprising. Sarah was bit by bit destroying this lady's social circle. Her appearance might seem more like a trap to her. Laurie stood up to break this suspicion. It's actually very simple. If you suspect I'm a spy, please don't worry. I can prove to you, right here and now, my determination to completely sever ties with that girl. She held out her right hand. If you still feel reluctant, then how about we try being temporary friends for a while? Evangeline was stunned. Temporary friends? The carriage wheels rolled over the cobblestone road with a dull, vibrating sound. Your Grace, we have arrived at the mansion. It's rare to see you return at this hour. De Clysai's expression showed a rare hint of relaxation. Occasionally, such days are needed. The state council meeting ended earlier than expected. He scanned the view outside the window absent-mindedly and let out a curious hum. Is that Evangeline? Who is the young lady with her? A new friend? Watching Evangeline talking with someone else, a playful smile formed on his lips. He let out a soft laugh. It's been a long time. Just a moment ago, you were belittling yourself, and now you're confidently reaching out to me? To me, a high-ranking noble lady? You truly are a bold young lady. How do you plan to prove it? She was quite cautious, but that precisely meant she was the perfect partner to help take down Sarah. Laurie turned slightly, her voice steady and confident. It's not hard. I'll handle all the negotiations. You just need to listen. Since this will be a long story, why don't you take a seat again? Evangeline suddenly set down her teacup. What? Her eyes widened in disbelief. Lopez intentionally spilled tea on you? She even tied your shoelaces together? Laurie lowered her eyes. Yes, it just happened a few days ago. Evangeline's brow furrowed, her gaze filled with disgust and anger. That woman Lopez is even more malicious than I imagined. How could she treat her own friend like that? Laurie raised a hand and gently wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. I simply couldn't bear it anymore, which is why I took the liberty of writing to you. After all, our current situations are so similar. If I don't expose Sarah's evil deeds, how else can I prove my sincerity? People always bond quickly when discussing a common enemy. This was the so-called gossip social technique. Miss Ansi, Laurie's shoulders flinched. Yes. Evangeline firmly grasped the other's hands. Although you are indeed a bit irritating, you haven't done anything wrong. Choosing to cut ties now is the right thing to do. Stop wasting your time on someone like that. Laurie lowered her head slightly. Thank you for your comfort. However, she firmly squeezed Evangeline's hands back. Does this hand mean you are willing to accept me as a friend? Evangeline was startled by this sudden intimacy, her body jumping back like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Don't misunderstand. We haven't reached that level yet. It's just temporary friends. Temporary. Laurie showed a brilliant smile. Even as a temporary friend, it is my honor. I'm glad you could accept me. Evangeline rested her chin on one hand and fell into thought. Since you can expose Lopez's evil deeds without hesitation, I'm certain you're on my side. I was worried about how to restore my reputation. Your appearance has actually been a big help. This young lady seemed a bit impatient. In the original novel, she didn't have this kind of personality. Evangeline crossed her arms, her fingers tapping irritably against her sleeve. Those strange rumors have made me walk on thin ice, both inside and outside the mansion. She lowered her eyes slightly, her expression showing resentment and frustration. It's not just me. The entire ducal household is uneasy because of these rumors. After all, my dignity represents the pride of the family. My brother even threatened to cut my allowance if the rumors continue. Isn't that despicable? Laurie listened quietly to the complaints, her gaze gradually deepening. Wait, is this the direction of the original work? The troublemaking sister, who was eventually exiled from social circles. Were those few lines of description in the original work actually starting in this way? Although she wasn't sure about everyone's personality, the progression of events seemed to be following the original plot. She had to carefully recall every detail of the original work. Rumors would spread, and there was a reason for that. Evangeline curled her lips in self-deprecation. I know my personality is a bit sharp, indeed, sensitive and temperamental. Miss, didn't you just tell me not to belittle myself? She clasped her hands to her chest, her eyes full of admiration. I am completely attracted by your charming personality. You are so cool that I even want to become someone like you. Evangeline froze. Me? But everyone keeps their distance from me. Once I speak, they even shrink back in fear. Laurie shook her head vigorously. That's only because they've never had a deep conversation with you. In fact, seeing you like this only makes me want to know more. To celebrate us becoming temporary friends, could you tell me about yourself? Evangeline turned back with some hesitation. What kind of things? Laurie looked in her eyes. For example, things you like or what you want from me. Evangeline fell into thought. Things I like and things I want. Evangeline looked the young girl up and down. Well, first, we have to deal with those tacky clothes of yours. With that kind of fashion sense, you're not even qualified to be my temporary friend. Laurie's mouth dropped open. What? These are the most decent clothes in my wardrobe. She recalled the struggle before leaving home, comparing outfits in front of the mirror for ages and choosing this brightest one. She had even checked it repeatedly before setting out. Evangeline sighed helplessly. It can't be helped. I'll recommend a salon I'm familiar with. Listen carefully, Miss Ansi. Since you're already out, let's go for a walk. I've always wanted to try strolling in the garden with someone my own age. Laurie's eyes lit up and a bright smile blossomed on her face. I will be delighted, my lady. The sunset glow filled the courtyard. Unknowingly, their conversation had lasted the entire day. Laurie bowed slightly. Today has been very pleasant, my lady. Evangeline turned. In that case, why not stay for dinner? My brother happens to have returned early. Laurie's heart skipped a beat and her smile froze. Encountering Sarah's future partner was absolutely the worst possible situation right now. She shook her head gently. I cannot trouble you any further. Being able to talk with you is already the best gift for me. Evangeline seemed to suddenly remember something. Gift? That word reminded me. I have something to give you. Laurie's eyes widened in surprise. For me? Evangeline turned around. Wait for me here. I'll be right back. Don't go away, Miss Ansi. Laurie stood obediently in place. Okay, I'll wait here. Evangeline walked quickly up the steps, her shoes clicking sharply against the stone tiles. But she stopped abruptly at the corner. Excuse me, Miss Ansi. Were you really just listening and didn't say a single word? Laurie blinked rapidly. Sorry, I thought I had answered all your questions. Evangeline tossed her head. How frustrating. What I want to know is about your preferences. We'd better get to know each other better. Don't be like you were with Miss Lopez, just blindly, not catering to others. Do what you like. After all, you and I are temporary friends now. Laurie froze in place, her pupils widening in surprise. Her heart skipped a beat. Evangeline looked away. Well then, I'll be right back. Laurie stood alone in the courtyard, the breeze blowing through her long hair as she watched the departing figure, falling into a brief daze. In this life, it was the first time someone had said those words to her. It wasn't a relationship where she was easily manipulated by others, but one of mutual respect and consideration. Laurie lowered her eyes, her heart fluttering for quite some time. Her eyes welled up involuntarily, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Oh heavens, I shouldn't be crying over such a small thing. Laurie hurriedly lowered her head and fumbled in the pocket of her skirt. That's strange. Where's my handkerchief? Steady footsteps were gradually approaching. Laurie stopped her movements abruptly, freezing in place. Do you need a handkerchief? Dietrich slowly reached out, his fingers holding a pristine white square. He held it out in front of Laurie. Laurie jerked her head up, her pupils contracting sharply in extreme shock. This person, in a novel titled Lovely Seraphina, the descriptions of characters' appearances were usually brief and plain. Only the female lead, Sarah, was given the most detailed prose. However, there was another woman whose description was even longer than the female leads, and that was Evangeline. Besides her, there was one more character whose appearance was always accompanied by long-winded words of praise. That was the story's male lead, Dietrich. Just a glimpse of his back was enough to take one's breath away. That level of beauty allowed one to recognize his identity instantly without any introduction. Miss Laurie snapped back to her senses and covered her mouth. Without realizing it, she had been staring blankly. Ah, yes. She reached out with both hands to take the handkerchief. Thank you, Dietrich. She bowed her head slightly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stare at you. I was just worried that something bad had happened at the estate. No, the madam said such warm things to me. I was truly moved to the point where I couldn't help but cry. Dietrich raised an eyebrow. Moved by Evangeline? Laurie froze. This reaction was completely unexpected. Was it because he didn't know that Evangeline was actually not a very gentle person? Oh, right. He was disappointed in Evangeline because of all the rumors about Sarah. No wonder he reacted that way. The accumulation of conflicts between the siblings eventually led to that tragic ending. This won't do. I should at least clear the madam's name. She took a step forward. The madam said she wanted to do the things I like with me. She even recommended salons that would suit me. She poured tea for me herself, listened to me carefully, and empathized with me. Dietrich looked at the girl in front of him, who was so eager to defend his sister, and couldn't help but let out a light chuckle. Sorry, I just found it adorable that my sister would do such things. It seems Evangeline truly holds you in high regard. Mississippi Laurie stood stunned. Things she would never usually do? Did Dietrich really have no trust in his sister at all? She had just said it was because of the madam's personality. Her cheeks instantly turned scalding hot, as if steam were about to rise from the top of her head. Overreacting at their first meeting. How embarrassing. Laurie lowered her head in awkwardness. I see. Dietrich watched the flustered girl before him, his lips curling into a polite arc. It is quite rude for a man to intrude upon a ladies' gathering. Then, I shall take my leave. He bowed slightly, performing an impeccable gentlemanly salute. Well then, miss, I look forward to greeting you formally next time. Laurie stood dazed, watching Dietrich's departing back. Heavens, not only is he handsome, but even his manners are perfect. Just looking at Dietrich's face made her feel completely healed. Laurie tilted her head and let out a confused hum. Oh, right, I haven't returned the handkerchief yet. Evangeline carried a heavy flower basket and held it out to Laurie. These are roses grown at home. The quality is quite good. Take them. Laurie took the basket somewhat awkwardly. I haven't prepared a return gift yet. Thank you. I'm so lucky to receive such a beautiful flower basket. Evangeline crossed her arms over her chest. Flower arrangement isn't anything special. What matters is the variety. These flowers will look good in your room. Laurie held the flower basket and nodded vigorously. Yes, I'll move them to a vase and change the water every day. Evangeline turned around. There's no need for such a fuss. More importantly, Miss Lariette, I will come to your manor to pick you up at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Please be sure to wait for me. Laurie's pupils dilated in surprise. So sudden? I highly recommend those salons I mentioned earlier. Since we're on the subject, let's go shopping. Even my grandmother wouldn't wear clothes of that style. Let's go buy something fashionable. Laurie looked a bit dejected. Are my clothes really that bad? Aren't friends supposed to go shopping and eat good food together? Let's go buy some decent clothes first. Don't look so down. Laurie's heart skipped a beat, and a flush of excitement rose to her cheeks. Heavens, is she asking me out? She nodded vigorously, her eyes regaining their sparkle. All right, I'm not sad at all. Just thinking about spending time with Miss Evangeline makes me start to look forward to it. Tomorrow, we'll do exactly what we planned. Just the two of us. Laurie sat in the carriage and waved her arm energetically. Then, sweet dreams, miss. The carriage wheels made a rhythmic sound as it gradually moved away. Laurie leaned out and shouted goodbye. Evangeline stood alone, watching the carriage disappear at the end of her sight. She withdrew her gaze, but the corners of her mouth curled up involuntarily as she let out a soft chuckle. Miss Lariette is truly an interesting person. The chandeliers of the dinner hall emitted a soft glow. The dining table was covered with exquisite delicacies. Evangeline sat at one end of the long table, and Dietrich sat opposite her. The two began their meal in the quiet atmosphere. Dietrich swirled the red wine in his glass. Evangeline, how was that friend you made today? Evangeline put down her utensils. She's not a friend, just a temporary partner. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Dietrich let out a light chuckle. A friend is a friend. What is a temporary partner? I could hear your laughter even from my room. It seems you were truly happy. Evangeline awkwardly looked away. That's just because her stories were too interesting. I didn't laugh that loudly. Dietrich put down his wine glass. To think someone could make the great Evangeline laugh. Was it that lady who sent the letter previously? Evangeline nodded slightly. Yes, the lady from the house of Viscount Lariette. Dietrich rested his chin on one hand. Miss Lariette? I heard she's close with Lopez, and you've always hated Lopez. Evangeline picked up her wine glass and took a sip. The one I hate is Lopez, not everyone around her. Miss Lariette is a very proper person. Dietrich showed a playful smile. Such high praise. It seems you really like Miss Lariette. You two must be quite close already. Evangeline's cheeks instantly turned bright red. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm Claudius. How could I make friends with someone so easily? Dietrich narrowed his eyes, a teasing smile hanging on his lips. Since you say so, then let it be. Even though you were smiling all day today. Evangeline's brow furrowed, her expression turning dark and irritable. How annoying. Can you stop looking at me with that expression? She lightly tapped the edge of her wine glass with her fingertip, her tone becoming serious. More importantly, brother, can you stop docking my allowance? I said I'm going out with Miss Lariette tomorrow. Although I am the only princess of the empire, I can't exactly let Miss Lariette pay, can I? Dietrich put down his glass. So, you're begging me not to cut your spending? Evangeline awkwardly shifted her gaze. I suppose. That's more or less what I mean. Dietrich crossed his hands under his chin. That depends on how well you behave. Evangeline let out a disdainful snort. How stingy. Fine. Anyway, the money I have on hand is enough for tomorrow. Dietrich's tone was calm, but carried a warning. Evangeline, I didn't say I would completely cut off your funds. I'll just be keeping an eye on you. Evangeline walked out of the dining room without looking back. I don't want to talk to such a strict brother anymore. Dietrich turned his head and teased in a light tone. I love you too, Evangeline. Evangeline stomped her feet in anger. So annoying. Just eat your food. Dietrich sat alone at the table. For Evangeline to set aside her damn pride to make a request was enough to move a lady to tears. It seemed Evangeline truly treated her well. Miss Lariette, was it? He picked up the wine glass again, the red liquid swaying inside. It seemed necessary to remember this name well. The morning sun spilled over the Lariette estate. The carriage wheels rolled over the stone road, stopping in front of the grand building. Laurie's expression showed a hint of hesitation. Miss Claudius? It's only 9 o'clock. You're much earlier than the appointed time. Evangeline folded her hands in front of her, her posture proud and natural. I got ready early, so I just came straight over. Laurie leaned in with some concern and whispered, but coming so early, you must be very tired, Miss Claudius. Evangeline's cheeks instantly turned bright red. You said I'm tired. There's no such thing. Evangeline straightened her back. Don't get ahead of yourself. Why would I stay up all night just to go out with you? Laurie placed a hand over her chest. Oh my, could it be because she was so excited that she couldn't sleep all night? She covered her mouth. She tried hard to suppress her inner agitation. Yes, let's set off with great anticipation. Evangeline walked quickly toward the carriage. I was not excited. Do you not believe me? Of course I believe you. I really didn't stay up all night. I'm serious. Laurie nodded with a smile. Since you say so, then it must be true. The carriage bumped along the forest path. Miss Lariette, do you not believe a word I'm saying? How could that be? I've decided to believe everything you say. The carriage stopped in front of a boutique. Evangeline pushed open the heavy doors, her fingertips sliding across rows of magnificent gowns. I want to see all the styles here, Madame Christensen. The shop owner bowed respectfully. I will prepare them for you immediately, Miss Claudius. Laurie stood among the dazzling array of clothing racks, her expression somewhat blank. As soon as they entered, she wanted to see everything on display. She probably wanted to look through them all first. Evangeline picked up a pink gown and held it against herself. These clothes are all very beautiful, aren't they? Laurie snapped back to reality. Yes, I believe every piece you pick will surely suit you perfectly, Miss Claudius. Evangeline's movements stopped abruptly. Miss Lariette? Evangeline's expression turned dark, and a chilling aura radiated from her. Did you forget? We came here today to buy clothes for you. Laurie was intimidated by this aura. She was like an angry tigress. She nervously wrung her hands. But, Miss Claudius, I don't need this many clothes. Evangeline suddenly reached out and gripped her shoulders. This isn't just for you. It's also for the days I'm about to spend with you. Evangeline looked away, an imperceptible flush rising to her cheeks. Anyway, no more explanations needed. Go and try on the clothes the owner gave you. She pushed Laurie toward the fitting room without allowing any argument, her movements forceful, yet carrying a hint of urgency. Hurry up and go in. A moment later, Evangeline sat alone on the sofa, flipping through a fashion catalog in her hands. Miss Claudius, I have coordinated several very suitable styles for Miss Lariette. Please have a look. Laurie changed into a pure white inner gown, her hair neatly pinned up and adorned with exquisite pearls, highlighting a cool and noble temperament. Next, she changed into a primrose yellow floral gown with a pale brown ribbon tied at the waist, as if she were wearing the vitality of spring itself, appearing lively and spirited. Finally, it was a cherry pink off-the-shoulder gown paired with diamond earrings of the same color, perfectly matching those bright eyes and exuding the unique tenderness of a young girl. Evangeline's lips curled into a satisfied arc. As expected, you look much better with a little dressing up. She turned to the shop owner. Her tone brooked no argument. Take these plus the ones I selected earlier and send them all to my estate. Laurie's eyes widened in shock. There are even more besides these? Evangeline walked to the mirror and gently pushed Laurie's shoulders. Miss Lariette, look at yourself in the mirror. Do you understand now? Even without a drop of makeup, you possess a beauty that is enough to take one's breath away. Laurie gazed at her reflection in the mirror, her fingertips lightly touching her cheek. So, she could look this decent too. But these clothes look truly expensive. Can I really afford these with my dignity maintenance fee? She hurried toward the shop owner, her fingers anxiously twisting her skirt. Madame. Laurie took a deep breath. I'm very sorry. May I ask if I can pay in installments? Or could you help me return a few pieces? Evangeline's expression became exceptionally ferocious. Miss Lariette, she was like an enraged beast. Did you actually think I would let you pay for clothes I personally picked out? Laurie shrank her shoulders in fear, stammering her defense. But, Evangeline let out a cold snort. I was the one who insisted on dressing you up. That way, we'll look proper standing together. So, there's no need to act so lowly. Madam, send today's bill entirely to the Duke's residence. The shop owner bowed deeply. As you wish, Miss Claudius. Evangeline pushed open the boutique doors. Now that I've dressed you up in a way I like, shall we move on to the next step? Laurie stopped, a hint of confusion in her eyes. The so-called next step is, go to a very wonderful place for lunch. I put in a lot of effort to reserve a table there. She took brisk steps forward. Follow me, Miss Lariette. Laurie watched that proud and magnificent back, a ripple of emotion rising in her heart. Oh my, what should I do? She lifted the hem of her pink gown and hurried after her. Her leather shoes made a crisp sound on the stone road. I think I'm about to fall in love with Miss Claudius. Laurie jogged to catch up with the figure ahead. Please wait for me, Miss Claudius. Inside the restaurant, every seat was taken. Elegantly dressed guests were talking in low voices, and the air was filled with a sophisticated and languid afternoon atmosphere. This is my first time in a restaurant with such an atmosphere. The food here is very good. It should suit your taste. Evangeline stopped. Go sit at that window seat first. I'm gonna touch up my makeup and we'll be right back. Order whatever you like. Laurie obediently watched her leave. All right, please take your time, Miss Claudius. She pulled out the heavy, padded back chair and sat at the window table. Sunlight streamed through the bright floor-to-ceiling windows onto the table. Laurie looked up at the guests talking and laughing in the restaurant. The people here looked so happy, tasting delicious food with a compatible companion, sharing laughter in an ordinary daily life. She tightly gripped the menu. Now, I can finally enjoy all of this too. This is my first meal with Miss Claudius. I must choose carefully. Laurie flipped through the menu, her fingertips sliding lightly across the paper. I wonder what she likes. Lariette? A familiar voice sounded from behind. Laurie froze instantly. Is it really you, Lariette? Sarah stood nearby, clutching an exquisite handbag. Just when she thought the happy moment had finally arrived, trouble always came uninvited. The role of a supporting character was indeed persistent. She stiffly turned her head. Of all places, I saw your back just now and wondered if it was you. These clothes, I haven't seen them before. Are they new? Yes, my old clothes look too shabby. Sarah stared at the pink handbag, her gaze gradually turning cold. That bag doesn't look cheap either. What is going on? She suddenly leaned in, her voice very low. Oh, weren't these personally picked for you by me? Laurie's expression showed a hint of aloofness. I'm sorry, but those old clothes were even considered outdated by my grandmother. So, I decided to buy some new ones and clean out my entire wardrobe while I was at it. That shouldn't be a problem, right, Sarah? Sera Froze. She used to only wear the scraps I threw away. Why did she suddenly become so dazzling? Does she really have some unspeakable secret? She suddenly widened her eyes. Wait, if I look closely, Are the bag and the dress both Madame Christensen's work? Sarah gritted her teeth, jealousy surging wildly in her chest. Those luxury items that even she didn't dare hope for. How on earth did Lariette get her hands on them? Gregory, hold this bag for me. Gregory stepped forward and stopped in front of Lariette. A suspicious flush rose to his cheeks. Lariette, could it be that you dressed like this just to get my attention? Sarah stood in place, looking at the scene before her in disbelief. What was this guy saying? Lariette's eyes widened and her lips parted slightly. She was overcome by a massive sense of absurdity. What the? He's actually blushing? Gregory turned around, trying to hide his bashful appearance. You deliberately ignored me for several days, and now you're waiting here specifically to make up with me? Since you've worked so hard, we'll reluctantly join you. Lariette turned away in disgust. His attitude changes just because I dressed up a bit. Truly shallow and transparent. Gregory, I have a prior engagement. Don't flatter yourself. Go away quickly. Gregory stopped. What? But I am your fiancé. What nonsense are you talking about? The breakup letter was sent to you long ago. Why are you still clinging to that title? Her tone was icy, without a hint of warmth. Unless you're here to accept the breakup, I have nothing to say to you. Please leave. He roughly grabbed Lariette's wrist. Nothing to say? By what right do you get to decide alone whether the conversation is over? Stop joking around with those letters. Lariette. Lariette struggled desperately. What are you doing? Let go. Gregory didn't let go. Instead, he increased his grip. Those letters were burned by me long ago. So, let's talk again, Lariette. Let me go. If I have to, I'll send another document. Are you really going to do something you'll regret? Gregory tightened his grip, his tone full of threats. Besides me, who else would be willing to marry a woman like you? Lariette shuddered, her breathing becoming rapid. The surrounding air seemed to freeze. Everyone's gaze felt like needles stabbing into her. Whispers began to spread through the restaurant as people put their heads together, pointing and staring at the scene. She had become a laughingstock in everyone's eyes. I just wanted to have a moment like that, sitting with a friend like a normal person, talking and laughing. But in the end, I still ruined this day. Everything is messed up after all. Lariette, are you even listening to me? Immediately cancel that damn breakup decision. Enough. A cold shout cut through the noise. Steady footsteps approached from a distance. Evangeline crossed her arms, her gaze like a sharp blade directed forward. I would be very grateful if you could move a bit further away from my friend, Viscount Gusto. Gregory froze, a choked sound escaping his throat. Miss Claudius? Sarah held her breath. Evangeline's expression was indifferent as she continued to step forward. I heard that Miss Lariette has already sent a breakup letter. In that case, you have no engagement relationship anymore, right? Is your pestering of someone who has clearly rejected you because you have too much free time, or is it your cheap lingering affection at work? Gregory stood paralyzed. No, then disappear from Miss Lariette's sight. Evangeline tilted her head slightly, her gaze bone-chillingly cold. Stop loitering around here like a pathetic worm. Gregory's face turned pale, and cold sweat slid down his forehead. Faced with the pressure of the Claudius family, he had lost even the courage to talk back. If you understand, then move. Evangeline walked straight to the table. I just want to eat a meal in peace. Let's go, Gregory, Sarah urged in a low voice, giving Lariette a complex look. Evangeline turned her face and looked at Lariette beside her. I'm hosting a salon soon. Will you come? A salon hosted by the Duke of Claudius's family. This was practically a dream opportunity. It was the most prestigious salon in the empire, sponsoring rising artists and writers every year. This heavy responsibility was traditionally held by the Duchess, but since the current Duke had not yet married, Evangeline presided over it in her stead. I remember Sarah has always dreamed of attending this gathering. Miss Lopez and Viscount Gregory, haven't you left yet? Evangeline sat at the table, her tone plain, but carrying a subtle authority. Is there something you want to say to me? No, we're leaving now. Sarah and Gregory actually backed down without an argument. It was truly a rare spectacle. A faint smile appeared on Lariette's lips. Evangeline lightly set down her teacup. From now on, scenes like this will become very common. Thank you, Miss Claudius. Did you intentionally invite me in front of Sarah so she would hear? Evangeline flipped through a register in her hand. I intended to invite you anyway. I just chose the most appropriate time. Lariette lowered her eyes. Also, I'm sorry for taking up your time and getting you involved in such an embarrassing scene. Evangeline closed the register with a soft thud. What are you saying? That wasn't an embarrassing scene. It was an opportunity. She rested her chin on one hand, her lips curling into a playful smile. I just wanted to make those pests recognize their place quickly. The result was perfect. It even felt quite interesting to me. So that's how it was. Lariette looked up, her eyes shining with relief. As long as she could be with this lady, her happiness seemed like it could spread infinitely at any time. As expected of her lady, she really was the best. Miss Lariette, what do you like to eat most? I'm fine with whatever you like. Evangeline tilted her head slightly. Do you think having someone to back you up means you can imitate my tastes? Well then, do you like apples? Yes, very much. Suha, what should I do? Gregory chased after her on the street, asking in a panicked whisper. It seems Lariette really intends to break up with me. If I don't have this marriage, my title. Gregory, Suha stopped. Could you please shut up for 1 second and let me think? She slowly turned her head, her gaze cold and sharp. I'm sorry. Gregory was intimidated by that aura and instinctively shrank his neck. That Lariette, who was always so quiet, is actually so close with that lady. Sarah gritted her teeth, her fingertip pressed against her lip. What exactly is going on? Could her abnormal attitude these past few days be entirely because she has that woman's support? This can't go on. I must find an opportunity to talk to Lariette again. To Lariette. The letter slowly unfolded between her fingertips. Miss Lariette, did you sleep well last night? Did you put on that set of clothes I gave you? Just as you said, I believe you've already thrown away that trash. Those clothes Lopez gave you were never given with good intentions from the start. You should be well aware of that. Since you signed a friendship contract, you should fulfill it properly. When are you coming to the manor to see me? It's not because I want to see you. It's just to fulfill the contract. Do you understand? How cute. She's clearly not being honest. Lariette looked down at the letter and let out a light laugh. When you come to the manor, remember to wear that sky blue dress I gave you. That dress suits you well, Miss Lariette. The sun during the day is very strong, so you must use the parasol we picked out together. Also, tidy up that hair you drag around like an introverted ghost. I don't want to be friends with a ghost. Write back and tell me when you're coming, or you can just come over without replying. I will be waiting. Your contract friend, Evangeline. I really love this feeling too much. Lariette closed her eyes, a smile she couldn't hide hanging on her lips. Someone who watches over her like this, thinks of her, and waits for her. She pressed the letter tightly to her chest and rolled playfully on the bed. But she stopped her movements abruptly. Isn't she busy preparing for the salon? That's why I hadn't contacted her before. Perhaps even though she was incredibly busy, she still sent an invitation. If she needs help, I'd be happy to oblige, since she desires to see me so much. Lariette pinched the envelope with her fingertips and tucked it away securely. Then let's start preparing with a happy mood. Everything is ready. Mississippi Amy stepped forward and handed over the parasol. Thank you, Amy. Miss, while you were preparing, Miss Lopez came to visit. Amy folded her hands in front of her. What should we do? Her again? Lariette stopped, a hint of helplessness in her eyes. Didn't I say to just have her go back? But she brought a companion, so I've asked them to wait in the drawing room for the time being. Who is the companion? It is Baroness Bentner. Lariette's eyes widened. What? Gregory's aunt? TSK. The aroma of this tea is too weak. Even the tea for guests is so perfunctory. No wonder Gregory can't stand it here. Annie, shall we have afternoon tea together privately later? Sarah turned her head, a submissive smile on her lips. Let's do that. The Baroness nodded slightly, her expression softening a bit. More importantly, thank you for being willing to accompany me here, Annie. Sarah lowered her eyes, her tone sounding somewhat aggrieved. What has she done right to be putting on airs with you? The Baroness waved her folding fan angrily. She has always been so ill-bred. An elder must say something. Moreover, she actually dared to send my nephew a letter to break off the engagement. Do you think I could just sit by and do nothing? To think she actually brought that tyrant of a woman into my home. Laurie hid behind the door, her breathing becoming a bit ragged. Serafina, you really are torturing me from every possible angle. Baroness Bentner. She's the one who turned my married life into a living hell. She was always comparing Sarah to me, and back in those days, I could only bow my head in submission before her. She knows perfectly well how much I fear that woman, yet she brought her here anyway. She knows that if she does this, I'll be forced to show my face. Does she really want to see me that badly? Laurie took a deep breath to calm the turmoil in her heart. Her fingertips gripped the doorknob tightly, and with a click, she pushed open the grand doors of the drawing room. Serafina. Laurie's voice was cold and steady as she entered. Ah, Larry. Sarah stood up abruptly, a look of pleasant surprise blooming on her face. Good morning. Annie said she missed you dearly, so I brought her along. What on earth are you thinking? I told you not to come back, and bringing a guest without any notice is quite troubling. Don't you understand that? Sarah froze in place, her expression shifting to one of shock and grievance. I'm sorry, laddie. I just don't blame Sarah. I'm the one who told her to bring me here. The Baroness stood up sharply, shielding Sarah. I heard that not only did you send Gregory a letter breaking off the engagement, but you also humiliated him in public, arguing with your fiancé in broad daylight. Have you no sense of shame at all? As a lady, you are simply beyond help. A woman should be gentle and sweet, like Sarah. The Baroness lifted her chin, her tone dripping with contempt. In that case, why don't you have Gregory? Get engaged to Sarah instead? I've said it countless times already. I want to break up with Gregory. Laurie took a step forward, meeting the woman's gaze head on. Since you adore Sarah so much, wouldn't it be a better choice to have her as your daughter-in-law? You, how dare you speak to me like that? The Baroness's eyes widened, her chest heaving with anger. Instead of being grateful for my guidance, you've become so arrogant and rude. Laurie, how can you speak to Annie that way? Sarah hurried forward, her voice trembling with a hint of tears. Hurry and apologize to her. Why have you been slandering Gregory and me? This attitude of yours is truly distressing. Gregory has been more loyal to you than even to me. Laurie turned her head, her eyes filled with a bone-chilling coldness. You witnessed everything yourself, and yet now you say you're distressed? That was only because we were childhood friends, Sarah argued desperately. I'm also your childhood friend, Laurie interrupted, her tone flat and devoid of emotion. True friends don't treat each other as props. True friendship is built on respect and care. A relationship where one asks about the other's preferences, that is what a true friend is. Since Lady Claudius values me so highly, I will become someone worthy of that respect. Therefore, I will no longer be intimidated by scenes like this. You never asked me about these things, Laurie. Laurie tilted her head slightly, her voice freezing. And I don't intend to be friends with you anymore. Please leave. Sarah stood frozen, her pupils trembling with shock. Her body swayed, and she pressed her palm firmly against her forehead, falling back weakly. Sarah, are you all right? The Baroness cried out, rushing forward to catch the reeling girl. You insolent girl. The Baroness looked up sharply, glaring at Laurie with fury. Sarah is the person who saved your life. How can you be so ungrateful? Please calm down, Annie. Sarah weakly grabbed the Baroness's arm. Laurie is just speaking out of anger. She doesn't mean it. Laurie, I'm sorry for making you feel that way. Sarah looked up, tears welling in her eyes. I really have done my best for you. If getting close to Lady Claudius has made you prejudiced against me, I will work harder to make it up to you. But Laurie, do you really trust Lady Claudius? Sarah leaned close to her ear, her expression turning dark and eerie. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What do you mean by that? Laurie's eyes widened, her pupils shrinking in alertness. I'm saying this for your own sake. Lady Claudius's personality is notoriously terrible. Sarah leaned against her shoulder, a faint, imperceptible smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. That's why she's always alone, even at social gatherings for noble ladies. Rumor has it she doesn't even view lower-ranking nobles as human beings. What if she only chose you because she needed a laughingstock for her salon? There are countless rumors about her discarding people once she's done with them. If you end up isolated and helpless in that salon, my heart will break for you. Do you really think I would harm you? I see. So that was your goal all along. Laurie's lips curled into a cold smile. So this has been your target? All for that salon invitation. Thank you for worrying about me, Sarah. Laurie pulled her fingers away, a distant smile on her face. Laurie, Sarah called out softly, her expression appearing somewhat flustered. But I was only invited as a guest. I don't have the right to bring others along. If you could just put in a good word for me with the lady. Sarah followed quickly, a hint of urgency in her tone. No, Sarah, according to you, I'm nothing but a laughingstock. That lady would never help someone like me. Laurie let out a cold laugh. She continued walking forward. I should be grateful as long as I don't provoke her anger. Laurie turned her head, her eyes full of mockery. Don't you agree? And compared to me, I believe the Baroness has more power to secure an invitation. WH what? The Baroness stood frozen, her expression one of pure bewilderment. Though an invitation might not be sent to a mere barony. Since the Baroness loves you so much, Sarah, Laurie looked back slightly, a playful smirk on her lips. I'm sure she can find a way. That arrogant little brat. The Baroness clenched her fists, her chest heaving with rage. Auntie, please calm down. Getting angry isn't good for your health. Sarah hurried forward to support the trembling Baroness. Also, Serafina, if you're truly that worried about me, then please, by all means, get an invitation and come to the salon to see for yourself. For my sake, you should be able to manage at least that much, right? Sarah stood in place. Of course. I will do my absolute best, Laurie. Sarah clenched her fists, her expression turning twisted and dark in the shadows. Then, I wish you a safe journey back. Fine, Serafina. You should also try your best to survive, just like I once did. I will personally shatter that hypocritical mask of yours. The carriage axle let out a dull groan as it slowly rolled away from the manor. The morning sun bathed the magnificent building, and birdsong echoed through the woods. Everything seemed calm, as usual. Laurie lifted her cumbersome skirts and stepped onto the soft lawn, walking toward the tall spire. Lariat, Laurie paid her respects to Lady Claudius. To think you came in person instead of just replying with a letter. Evangeline sat at the tea table and gestured to the seat opposite her. Sit down. Yes, my lady. Laurie obediently took her seat. Your attire is acceptable, but your greeting was too stiff. 3 points deducted. Evangeline scrutinized the girl before her. Why do you greet me like that? Laurie tilted her head, looking a bit confused. Aren't we friends now? There's no need to be so formal between friends. Evangeline looked away, coughing lightly to hide her embarrassment. In that case, next time I will greet you in a more familiar way. Laurie's eyes sparkled with anticipation. And put away those heavy eyes of yours. As you wish. Anyway, if you like lemon cake, eat as much as you want. Evangeline pointed to the sweets on the table. If it's not to your taste, I'll have someone change it immediately. Thank you for your kindness. I really do like it. Laurie cut a piece of cake with her fork and took a bite. The sweet flavor spread across her palate, and all her stress seemed to vanish in an instant. But Laurie stopped her movements and looked at Evangeline. She seemed far too relaxed for someone preparing for a salon. My lady, is there anything I can help with? Laurie put down her fork, her expression showing concern. Help with what? Evangeline's hand, holding the teacup, paused slightly. I know the salon is only 2 weeks away. Since you're the host, I thought I could take some of the workload off your shoulders. Evangeline lowered her gaze. She fell into a brief silence. Forget it. My brother handles everything anyway. It makes me feel quite uncomfortable. It's as if every time he overworks himself just so I can rest peacefully. He's already so busy, I feel like I'm just adding to his burden. She's worried about the Duke. Laurie watched her quietly, a ripple of emotion in her heart. Indeed, Dietrich was one of the busiest people in the Empire. He carried the weight of vast territories and his people, handling countless administrative affairs and managing a massive industry, all while navigating the politics of the nobility. And the imperial family. Like the only king on a chessboard, he had to remain sharp at all times. Dietrich's image appeared in Laurie's mind. He always handled mountains of paperwork with a polite smile. Just how did he manage such a grueling schedule with a smile? Laurie rested her chin on her hand, lost in thought. Just like in a novel, he must be dealing with those suffocatingly heavy matters right now. Since this matter weighs so heavily on your mind, why not take this opportunity to look at the documents yourself? Let me help. Evangeline looked up, a trace of hesitation in her eyes. I will help you. I understand the Duke's desire to protect his sister, but as a direct heir, she must learn to handle administrative work. Only by mastering the inner workings of the duchy can she gain confidence and solidify her position. Most importantly, I must not let her lose to Sarah like in the original story. In the latter half of the novel, when the conflict between Sarah and the lady reached its peak, a serious fraud case occurred. A guild dealing in high-end spices defrauded the nobility by inflating prices. Sura keenly perceived the truth and reported it, which brought her great fame and instantly reversed her social standing. Compared to Sarah's achievement, Evangeline was labeled as incompetent. Such an evaluation was extremely unfair to her. Those expensive spices had merely appeared on a list of gifts she received. She hadn't even noticed anything suspicious. However, Sarah spread subtle rumors among the crowds, inciting public sentiment. You say it was a gift, but what if you bought it yourself and are just making excuses now? The future of the duchy looked quite bleak. Evangeline's expression looked a bit lonely. Brother has always handled these things. Do you think I can really do it well? It was time to rewrite this incompetent script. Of course you can. Laurie smiled slightly. Reviewing documents will feel unfamiliar at first, but you'll get used to it quickly. Besides, I'll be right here by your side. Evangeline turned her head, a hint of wavering in her eyes. In the original work, this young lady was cursed with the reputation of being vain and incompetent. Those heavy shackles should have crushed her completely. Laurie stood up, her skirt swaying gently in the breeze. My lady, please trust me. Laurie looked her directly in the eye. I will personally shatter those titles and bring all those stigmas to a complete end. 2 stacks of heavy documents were placed on the table. A quill pen waited in the inkwell for its fate to be turned. Evangeline held the drafts with both hands, her brow furrowed as she let out a heavy sigh. The dense text made her feel a wave of dizziness. Evangeline let out a wail, collapsing onto the table. Are you not used to reviewing documents? Indeed. Then how about we start with this one? Laurie reached out and deftly pulled a page, holding it before the other's eyes. I don't think we need this many floral decorations. Laurie pointed to a detail in the draft, her expression focused and serious. Why? Evangeline looked up, confused. Because excessive decoration distracts the eye. If you place a giant vase next to an artwork, the viewer's attention will be divided. This actually ruins the charm of the work itself. That does make a lot of sense, Evangeline responded thoughtfully. In that case, it's better to remove those vases and put more effort into the lighting system. Laurie held the quill, and made light marks on the paper. Lighting? Evangeline tilted her head, looking a bit lost. To make the artwork shine even brighter, Laurie explained patiently. I think it would be better to consult technicians and install extra lighting. Then, do we need to increase the budget for lighting? Evangeline leaned down. Instead of increasing the budget, why not transfer the funds originally allocated for flowers? Laurie shook her head. That way, the budget difference that won't be too large. I see. Evangeline's face lit up with realization. Also, if you look at this document, Laurie held up another draft. What an admirable look in her eyes. Laurie chuckled behind her hand, her heart full of praise. To call such a woman incompetent. The original author was simply talking nonsense. Laurie felt a surge of indignation. Miss Ansi, Evangeline cried out from behind. It's nothing, my lady. Laurie hurried forward and gripped her hands tightly. I can help you review documents anytime, so please feel free to call on me. Really? Evangeline stood up abruptly. Not just today, but in the future as well. She squeezed Laurie's hands back. The warmth from her palms made her cheeks flush slightly. Evangeline lowered her head bashfully. Then for now, let's finish looking at this document together. She's still shy. How cute. Laurie watched her profile, her lips curling up involuntarily. All right, let's do as you say. The 2 sat opposite each other, stacks of heavy drafts between them. The scratching sound of the pen tip across the paper echoed in the quiet room. These are documents that external personnel can view, including various item lists. And this guest list. Laurie's fingers stopped on the list, her eyes scanning the string of names. A small smile appeared on her face. Just as I thought. At least I can breathe a sigh of relief during the salon. Serafina Gusto and the members of the Bentner family are all absent from the guest list. Night shrouded the magnificent castle, its spires piercing the starry sky as lights flickered behind the curtains. Dietrich stepped into the hall, loosening his tie with a tired sigh. He ran his fingers through his hair, his expression looking quite weary. Welcome back, Your Grace. An attendant stepped forward respectfully. Your bedroom is ready. Please go and rest. No, I still have some things to handle. Dietrich waved his hand. Bring me a cup of coffee and send the salon-related documents to the study. About those documents. Lady Claudius took them back to her room to review them. Dietrich stopped in his tracks. Evangeline did. He turned his face, his eyes showing a hint of disbelief. Dietrich pushed open the door to the study. He flipped through the drafts, his eyes scanning the lines rapidly. His expression gradually became solemn. They are organized perfectly. Even the supplementary suggestions are very detailed. This is not something Evangeline, who has no practical experience, could have written. What exactly happened here? Did Evangeline review these documents alone? No, Miss Ansi, who visited earlier, accompanied the lady and reviewed them together. The attendant reported truthfully with a bow. Miss Ansi. A flash of surprise crossed Dietrich's eyes. Yes, Your Grace. Dietrich let out a soft sigh. He carried Evangeline toward the bed, gently tucking her into the soft bedding. To think you'd take the initiative to find work to do. Dietrich gazed at her sleeping face, his fingertips lightly brushing her bright golden hair. All this time, I've been trying my best to protect you, to keep you away from these tedious and difficult matters. But now, you're actually sharing my workload. Truly admirable. Dietrich stood up, a gentle curve appearing on his lips. Compared to that, these documents are organized so neatly, there's almost nothing to correct. Dietrich closed the heavy book. No need for the coffee. As you wish, Your Grace. Thanks to that lady, I can finally get some rest early tonight. Morning light filtered through the tall curtains, spilling onto the floor of the ornate bedroom as tiny dust motes floated in the air. Evangeline slowly opened her eyes. I remember clearly that I was at the desk reviewing documents. She rubbed her sleepy eyes. She propped herself up. I fell asleep at the desk, but woke up in bed. That means... Her eyes widened. Dietrich was sitting on the sofa, his fingers steadily holding a teapot as he poured amber tea into a cup. She should be appearing just about now. The sound of skirts rustling hurriedly in the hallway echoed. Dietrich counted the beats in his head. 3, 2, 1, brother. She pushed the door open abruptly. Good morning, Evangeline. Dietrich lifted his teacup. I've already poured your tea. Did you see my documents? You've checked them, right? Evangeline hurried over to him, that her eyes filled with urgency. Yes, they were excellent, Dietrich replied calmly. Really? Evangeline's face lit up. Of course. Do you know who reviewed them? The result of your joint review with Miss Ansi was truly impressive. Dietrich put down his teacup. The smile on Evangeline's face instantly froze, and she let out an embarrassed groan. Yes, I did receive some help from Miss Ansi, but I also put in a lot of effort. I can imagine. Dietrich watched her, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. After all, you worked so hard you didn't even realize you fell asleep at the desk. Evangeline lowered her head in shame. Even though I went to such lengths, brother, do you still not plan? Not to attend the salon? You're always so busy. Who said that? I also want to see the salon you're hosting. Dietrich rested his chin on one hand, a playful smile on his lips. Are you not even going to give your brother an invitation? Is that true? Before, you'd only take one look at the preparations and then turn back to work. She put down her cup, her voice carrying a hint of suspicion. This time, I plan to clear my schedule. Dietrich turned, giving his promise calmly. And then, that you'll run off to a meeting or handle something else. Are you lying? It seems I truly have a bad track record, to the point where I can't even earn your trust. Dietrich lowered his gaze, letting out a helpless sigh. After all, in every previous salon, that I was always left alone, holding the fort, and no one even dared to approach me. I am sorry, Evangeline. Dietrich apologized in a low voice. What? Who said I wanted your apology? Miss Ansi will be accompanying me this time. Evangeline crossed her arms over her chest, her expression filled with pride. So, brother, I won't be attending the salon with you. Dietrich was silent for a moment. That's a pity. Evangeline, besides that, did you really like those documents? I was truly fond of them. It seems that you still don't believe my words. After all, this is the first time I've seen you admit to liking something so readily. You're usually so picky about these things. Is there really nothing that needs modifying? Were those documents really that good? Miss Ansi is truly amazing. Evangeline clasped her hands under her chin, her face overflowing with admiration. I've never seen anyone as brilliant as her. Does Miss Ansi hold a title because she is the heir to her family? Is that why she's so good at administrative work? I suspect that isn't the real reason. Dietrich narrowed his eyes slightly, his gaze becoming deep and sharp. I've seen many administrators, but Miss Ansi's documents were exceptional even among them. Anyway, I have to get back to work. Evangeline stood up and smoothed her magnificent skirts. I'll re-examine the budget proposal and give it to you by today. Remember to check it. Brother, don't forget to eat breakfast. You too. Evangeline pushed open the door and vanished down the hallway. Perhaps that I've been binding her with unnecessary overprotection all this time. He pressed his fingertips against his temple, letting out a faint sigh. She seems that much more energetic now than before. The lady and I prepared for the salon with all our hearts. Thanks to the thorough preparations beforehand, she was able to handle everything with ease. Although the key information had been recorded, her heart was still inevitably anxious. Laurie lowered her hands, clasping them over her chest, as she silently prayed for the plan to go smoothly. I hope everyone's evaluation of the lady is positive. Please, let nothing go wrong. Inside the venue, the air was buzzing with voices. A massive crystal chandelier cast its light. Laurie looked around. She really was seeing the people from the list. All the major figures of the empire were gathered here. That's the Marchioness of Baldwin. And those people are nobles from the Imperial Parliament. Is this why Sarah always wanted me to make a deep impression in front of these famous people? Since everyone wants to attend the Duke's salon, why would anyone spread such vicious rumors about the lady? I really can't understand it. Miss Ansi, I've been waiting for you. Evangeline suddenly rushed over and grabbed Laurie's arm, her face beaming with a bright smile. It seems everyone's evaluation of this salon is very high. Everyone says the food and exhibition layout are outstanding. To have this young lady holding my arm like this, the response must be very good indeed. Laurie turned her face slightly, a gentle smile appearing on her lips. I think I've gotten a bit carried away because of this salon. Evangeline released her arm, slightly flustered as she adjusted her lace gloves. I'm not usually someone who loses my composure so easily. She shrunk back like a cat. How cute. Laurie's lips curled up involuntarily. You have always been full of dignity, my lady. More importantly, you look even more moving today than usual. You're practically a work of art yourself. She rested her chin on one hand, her eyes full of wonder. Though it may sound like an exaggeration, all the magnificent sculptures and paintings in this hall pale in comparison to your beauty. So, how do you feel about this salon? Evangeline asked with a hint of expectation. Of course, all the works are excellent. The works? I was just admiring the parts one didn't help plan. Now I'm starting to carefully appreciate the masterpieces you selected. Oh, it's all right, Evangeline replied softly. No need to be surprised. You can take your time viewing these works. If you're interested, I'll take you to see other art pieces from our family's collection later. That would be my honor, my lady. Shall we go over there first? Those sculptures are quite grand. Evangeline, a deep, magnetic voice sounded, breaking through the clamor of the venue. Brother. Evangeline stopped and turned toward the newcomer. A look of surprise crossed her face. Dietrich walked slowly toward the two. You're here, Your Grace. Laurie gasped inwardly. I thought he wasn't the type to attend salons. This is perfect. The two of you should get to know each other. Evangeline took Laurie's arm and brought her before Dietrich. Brother, this is my friend, Lariette Ancy. Miss Ancy, and this is my brother, Dietrich von Claudius. Laurie froze. Sarah's future marriage partner had suddenly appeared in this manner. It's okay, don't worry. Just return the handkerchief to him, and we'll never have to meet again. She took a deep breath and gave Dietrich a deep bow. I am Lariette Ancy. It is a pleasure to meet you, Duke Claudius. The honor is mine, Miss Ancy. A polite smile hung on Dietrich's lips. I look forward to our future acquaintance. Laurie kept her head lowered. When exactly is the right time to return the handkerchief? It would seem a bit rude to pass it through the lady. My lady, the Marchioness of Baldwin would like you to come over for a moment. An attendant hurried over. Brother, I have to go greet the guests. Please take care of Miss Ancy. No problem. Go ahead. Dietrich nodded slightly. Laurie looked up sharply, her pupils shrinking in shock. Wait, how did it turn out like this? I clearly decided not to have anything to do with him anymore. My lady, you'll be back soon, right? What? Evangeline turned back with a confused look. Are you talking about the refreshments? The refreshments are over there. No, I was asking if you'd be back soon. Don't worry, I'll be right back. Evangeline waved her hand and vanished into the crowd. She must not have heard me correctly. Laurie stood frozen as cold sweat ran down her spine. She's gone too far. This is a disaster. Miss Ancy. Dietrich leaned down slightly, his deep voice sounding right next to her ear. Laurie turned her head abruptly, her pupils shrinking in fright. You don't look very well. Dietrich lowered his gaze, his tone carrying a hint of inquiry. Are you all right? Laurie hunched her shoulders. Did he hear what I said to the lady? Laurie forced a stiff smile. I'm Fine. I'm just a bit nervous since it's my first time attending a salon. She instinctively took a step back, trying to put some distance between them. Her toe accidentally caught on the intricate folds of her skirt. Laurie lost her balance. Letting out a short gasp, she began to fall backward. Dietrich's eyes sharpened. He quickly reached out, his arm firmly encircling her waist. Pulling her into his arms, he frowned slightly, his voice low and full of concern. Miss, your complexion looks terrible. Would you like to sit down and rest? I shall call for a doctor. He was even closer now. No, Laurie stumbled backward, pulling away. I'm perfectly fine. I am in excellent health. Better than anyone else. Actually, I just slipped, that's all. Dietrich withdrew his hand, which was still suspended in midair. I am relieved to hear you say so, Laurie thought to herself. I was so prepared to converse with a high-ranking noble, and yet, what on earth was I just babbling about? To think I was bragging about my physical stamina. Will he think I'm a strange woman? Will he even stop me from playing with his sister? Miss Ancy, Dietrich reached out his hand. Since you possess such a robust constitution, you should have no trouble touring the entire salon. Shall we look around together? Laurie stood frozen, her eyes falling on Dietrich's extended palm. Up until now, my image should still be considered perfect, right? She took a deep breath and gently placed her hand in his broad palm. Yes, Your Grace. The two walked side by side into the exhibition hall. Laurie looked around. The lighting was just right, and the frames weren't too gaudy. There were even brochures prepared for every section. Laurie lightly rested her hand on her chin, a gratified smile spreading across her lips. Even with my suggestions, the actual execution was by no means easy, but she truly did a wonderful job, grouping the landscapes in that area and cleverly arranging the scenery at the entrance. It was a brilliant move. Dietrich turned his head. You seem more interested in the layout of the salon than the artwork itself. Laurie withdrew her gaze, her eyes full of admiration. That young lady cut back on her sleep to prepare for the salon. I couldn't help but notice these details. Of course, I'm also enjoying these pieces of excellent taste. Dietrich stopped in his tracks. Did you sleep well last night? Laurie was startled. What? Are you asking me? I know you helped prepare the salon. I was worried she might have been a burden to you. Laurie hurriedly waved her hands. A burden? Not at all. It wasn't like that at all. I only gave a few minor suggestions. The person who truly worked hard and made all the decisions was the young lady herself. Dietrich gazed at her quietly, a flicker of unreadable emotion passing through his eyes. He blinked slowly. Since you trust Evangeline so much, it's no wonder she likes you so much. Laurie's eyes widened. The young lady likes me? And very much at that. Dietrich looked into the distance. Since meeting you, she has become much more cheerful. She seems to have gained a strange sort of confidence. This must be because you looked into her heart so earnestly. Evangeline stood in the center of the crowd, talking confidently with the guests, a bright smile on her face. Dietrich withdrew his gaze. I'm truly happy that Evangeline has found a good friend like you. I wanted to express my gratitude to you for some time. Laurie lowered her head in silence. A good friend? Was I just acknowledged by that young lady's family? I'm so happy. If I stay like this, I'll definitely make a fool of myself. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her erratic breathing. Thank you for your kind words, Your Grace. She had to change the subject quickly. She walked toward the center of the hall, pointing to a stone statue ahead. More than those, this statue is truly impressive. Have you seen it? Dietrich followed and stood before the statue. This one, it is a piece that recreates the legend of the nymph. In the legend, that nymph only obeyed the commands of the god she loved. However, that god never showed her even a shred of pity. He only coldly exploited her loyalty. The nymph suffered because of her unrequited love and eventually transformed into a birch tree. People created this statue based on that imperial legend. Laurie looked up at the white stone statue. This story is famous. Even I know a bit about it. The sculptor probably wanted to emphasize the nymph's sorrow. She gave her everything, yet she was still ignored. Because the grief was too much to bear, she had to hide herself in that form. Now that you mention it, the nymph's expression does seem very melancholy. Laurie gazed at the statue's face, lost in thought. Is that so? I feel it might not be entirely like that. Dietrich took a step forward. It seems you have a different insight, Mississippi. What different emotion do you read from the nymph's expression? Laurie tapped her lower lip with her fingertip. How should I put it? I was just thinking, would the nymph who chose to turn into a tree in the heart of the forest really only feel sadness? Her days of being toyed with by God finally came to an end. Perhaps that was the first choice she ever made entirely for herself in her life. I think that decision actually brought her freedom and liberation. Just like me, deciding to leave that so-called protagonist, she suddenly snapped out of it. Her cheeks instantly flushed red. Did I give too strange of an answer? Laurie awkwardly scratched her hair. This is just my personal wandering thought. I really shouldn't have said that. Dietrich shook his head gently. No, it is a very interesting and novel perspective. He leaned close to Laurie's ear and lowered his voice. I'll tell you a secret. Evangeline cried her eyes out after hearing this legend. She would definitely love your interpretation. Laurie looked surprised. Oh my, that is so adorable. I must tell her myself. Dietrich held up an index finger to his lips. This is a secret I've only told you. Laurie nodded vigorously. Of course, I will keep it a secret. Your Grace is truly always thinking of the young lady. How could such a gentle brother lock his own sister away in a convent? Laurie's pupils suddenly contracted. Wait, thinking about it carefully, that matter truly is strange. In the original storyline, what exactly happened to lead to such an end? In the original story, as it neared its conclusion, Sarah and that young lady met in the lakeside garden. Facing the young lady's fury, Sarah placed a hand over her chest, her expression humble and pleading. If you could tell me exactly what mistake I have made, I will apologize to you with all my heart. So, please have mercy and forgive me this once. However, that young lady, known as the wicked supporting character, Lopez, how foolish. Angie leaned close to the other's ear, her tone cold and contemptuous. To come looking for me like this. Sarah was suddenly pushed back, losing her balance and falling. This is the mistake you made. Water splashed everywhere. everywhere. Sarah fell into the freezing lake. Dietrich witnessed it all and jumped into the water without hesitation to bring her back to the surface. That young lady was eventually exiled to a convent. Everything was like a tragic cycle of irony. The protagonist who once saved others from the water had now sunk into the water herself. The readers were all blinded by this false appearance. She clearly deliberately induced Sarah to fall into the water. That Miss Anshi, I think I should take my leave now. He was an extremely prominent figure. She must not be impolite in front of him. She gently lifted her skirts with both hands and performed an elegant curtsy. It's quite all right, Your Grace. We shall meet again next time. Yes, until next time. Dietrich watched the young girl before him, a gentle curve appearing at the corner of his mouth. I hope that at our next meeting, we will have the opportunity for a deeper conversation. Miss Anshi. Laurie suddenly held her breath, her pupils trembling slightly with surprise. Then, I shall take my leave. Dietrich nodded slightly and politely turned away. Does he really consider me a friend? She cupped her face with one hand, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. That gentle suggestion just now almost made me fall for him completely. No, I absolutely cannot be swayed. Laurie shook her head vigorously. Snap out of it. I can't be misled by this gentle trap. I must not have any unrealistic fantasies about this destined lover. I value my own status as well. She started walking, her magnificent skirt trailing on the ground, making a soft, rhythmic, rustling sound. Perhaps I cannot fall in love with someone so dazzling, but at least my life is changing. That is enough. Miss Anshi looks truly radiant today. Indeed, the noble ladies nearby chimed in. His Grace even escorted her personally. He was getting along so well with her just now. This is the first time I've seen that young lady socializing with others. It's quite unexpected for a young lady of a ducal house to associate with a child of a viscount. She seems surprisingly humble. Humble? Evangeline stopped in her tracks, crossing her arms over her chest as she coldly interrupted their whispering. Between friends, things like titles are completely insignificant. The noble ladies trembled. Miss, I hope you all enjoy yourselves here. Evangeline looked down at them expressionlessly. The two women quickly bowed deeply. Forgive us, we misspoke. I promise there won't be a next time, ladies. I just wanted to know if you like this salon. By the way, I have no particular thoughts about what just happened. Of course, I really love it here. The layout is much better than before, and the works on display are fascinating. We can see how much heart and soul was poured into every part of the hall. Listening to these words, the corners of Evangeline's mouth unconsciously curled up. A faint blush appeared on her cheeks. This is all thanks to my friend. Evangeline raised her lace-gloved hand to lightly cover her lips, a rare gentleness in her eyes. Miss Anshi has been by my side every step of the way. She was helping me. I will certainly pass these compliments on to my friend. Everyone, please enjoy your time. She walked away with elegant steps, leaving the two women stunned, staring blankly at her retreating figure. I thought I'd be glared at fiercely, but I didn't expect her to be smiling. She's like an angel. I truly see this young lady in a new light. Laurie picked up a wine glass. She took a sip of the sharp liquid. Miss Anshi, so you were here? Why are you alone? Where's your brother? Evangeline looked around in confusion. You want to talk with some other gentlemen? They probably wanted to leave a good impression and secure some investments. Evangeline frowned with some dissatisfaction. He just left you like that? I think he was more considerate of me. Laurie gave a gentle smile. After all, there were so many people hoping to say a word to His Grace. Even so, he should have escorted you until the very end. When this is over, I must have a good talk with him. There's really no need for that. He escorted me perfectly. Laurie laughed helplessly and waved her hand. It's just that I always feel uneasy in my heart. Evangeline turned her face slightly, her expression looking a bit awkward. It's already enough. Laurie had a gentle smile on her face. Both you and His Grace have already taken great care of me. Listening to these words, Evangeline's tense shoulders gradually relaxed, and she gave a relieved smile. Miss Anshi, on my way here, I heard many compliments about this salon. I've been going around telling everyone that this was all Miss Anshi's doing. Now, everyone's view of you must be quite different. To think she even considered such a small thing. Laurie gazed forward, her eyes trembling slightly. I'm truly moved. I almost gave up on her, having an angelic friend like her. That would have been a total mistake. Luckily, before coming to the salon, I already sent that letter. A letter? Evangeline turned her head. Is it something important? It's not that important. Laurie gently swirled the wine in her glass, a gentle curve on her lips. I just handled some homework that had to be finished. In a dim manner, a letter lay quietly on a desk. A letter opener pressed against the edge of the envelope. Sarah's back. was to the window, her hair falling over her magnificent gown. She clutched the letter tightly in her hand. The paper was deformed. To Sarah, didn't you say you would come and see for yourself to confirm if that young lady was bullying me? But you didn't show up at all. It seems your concern for me is only worth that much. Our friendship seems so hollow. Serafina, actually, I've known for a long time what you truly wanted when you said those things. You weren't really worried about me, were you? I never want to see the person who treats me as a tool ever again. Let's not meet anymore. From Lariat, Sarah clenched her fist, crumpling the letter into an ugly ball of paper. She leaned on the windowsill, her shoulders heaving with heavy breaths, a cold laugh escaping her throat. Sarah tilted her head back and let out a shrill scream. You disguised it as an invitation and sent it, only for this. Don't meet anymore? She lunged at the window, her nails scratching against the glass with a piercing sound. Since when was it your turn to decide such things? Sarah pounded on the window, frantically. You are nothing more than my lifelong maid. Even if you hide from me, I don't care at all. She slowly tightened her grip. Because in the end, you belong to me, Laurie. It's all over. Evangeline let out a long breath. Thanks to you, Miss Anshi, this salon was a great success. Evangeline slumped onto the sofa, letting exhaustion wash over her. Laurie hurried over. You truly work hard. My lady, no, I didn't. I just did what you suggested. Most importantly, what time is it now? Miss Anshi, it's 8 o'clock. I should be on my way home. Laurie looked down at her pocket watch. Wait, you're leaving? I think it's getting late. Evangeline stood up abruptly, her face full of surprise. Laurie stepped back slightly, feeling awkward. I think the carriage will be quick. Besides, it's not too late yet. Evangeline fell silent, a trace of loneliness in her eyes. She hesitated, looking down. I heard there's a custom where friends gather together and talk all night without sleeping. Having fun. If I talk with friends all night. Laurie suddenly clutched the lace on her chest, her heartbeat echoing loudly in her ears. Could it be? Evangeline turned her face away, a hint of shyness in her eyes. Is that a pajama party? Laurie covered her chest with both hands, feeling as if she'd been struck by a bolt of lightning. She swayed and fell back. So cute. I'm almost going to faint. Miss Anshi. Evangeline rushed to support her shoulders. Are you all right? I'm Fine. Laurie managed to steady herself. The Grand Duke's daughter actually said the words pajama party. She's truly too cute. My legs are a bit weak. Can I stay over at your house tonight? Of course. I've prepared delicious snacks and even card games, just in case Miss Anshi's legs really aren't feeling well. So, please don't worry. You mean I can stay and enjoy all of that? Laurie turned her head with a gentle smile. Then I'm truly lucky. Evangeline stopped and lowered her head slightly, avoiding the other's burning gaze. Well, I've always wanted to have a pajama party with you, Miss Anshi. It would be my honor. Laurie bowed her head slightly, a gentle curve on her lips. I even brought several sets of pajamas that would suit you. We could try them on one by one, just like last time at the boutique. Since they are all new, you can take them with you when you leave. All right, Laurie responded helplessly. She never thought she would become a fitting model in the Duke's mansion. The cards were dealt neatly onto the table. I won again, right? You aren't letting me win on purpose, are you? Evangeline asked excitedly. Laurie had already changed in her 5th set of pajamas and was sitting tiredly on the rug. Of course not. The fashion show just now drained all my energy. Let's stop playing cards and lie down to rest for a bit. Evangeline flopped backward, sinking into the soft bed. Then, excuse me, my lady. No need for formalities. Please make yourself at home. Evangeline turned her head. By the way, have you really moved on from your former fiancé? Former fiancé? Laurie was stunned for a moment. Of course. If I still cared, I wouldn't have sent that application to annul the engagement. That's right. He wasn't worthy of you at all. Evangeline agreed with a nod. So, is there no one else you're interested in now? Evangeline swung her legs, her toes kicking playfully in the air. Is there really no one? No one you find handsome or gentle? Even just a little bit of attraction? Really not even one? Evangeline propped up her chin with a playful smile. Ah, such a person. Laurie's eyes widened, her pupils trembling slightly. A figure emerged in her mind. I can't help but think of him. Laurie curled up in the blankets, her hands tightly clutching the collar. He's the only one who has ever treated me with gentleness. There really isn't. Evangeline leaned down. For someone who claims to have no one in mind, you and my brother seem to get along a bit too well. Don't you like my brother, Duke Claudius? Laurie sat up abruptly. I would never dare to have such feelings for your brother, Miss Anshi. Why not? Evangeline turned her head, her expression becoming serious and calm. I don't mind, to be honest. I haven't seen my brother laugh so happily in public for a very long time. And Miss Anshi, you look very happy when you're with him too. My brother. He can be annoying sometimes, but he is a responsible man, and he is much more handsome than most men. Among all the men I know, he is probably the most outstanding one. I'm not forcing you to accept anything, Miss Anchi. Just take this as casual chatter. Moonlight streamed through the tall, floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling into the empty and magnificent bedroom. Laurie lay on the unfamiliar bed, as expected, in an unfamiliar place. It's hard to fall asleep. Laurie propped herself up and gently pulled the slipping velvet quilt over the other girl's bare shoulder. But being able to see the young lady's sleeping face is a blessing in itself. Since I can't sleep anyway, I might as well go get some fresh air. She pushed open the heavy glass doors, and the cool night breeze hit her face. She leaned against the white stone railing, looking down at the sea of flowers in full bloom. Wow, Laurie let out a low exclamation. The rose garden was still so brilliant in the dead of night. The night wind suddenly turned sharp, blowing her loose long hair into a mess. Laurie gasped and instinctively raised her hand to catch the flying strands. My ribbon. The pink silk ribbon slipped from her hand, fluttering wildly under the starlit sky, tracing a long arc. A hand suddenly reached out and firmly caught the ribbon midair. Laurie stood frozen in place. Dietrich stood in the moonlight, the ribbon wound around his hand. His blonde hair glowed softly in the night, his expression calm and deep. I didn't expect to meet again so soon. Dietrich leaned against the edge of the terrace. Are you not asleep yet, Miss Anchi? Can't you sleep? Yes. Laurie crossed her hands over her chest, her heart beating so fast it almost felt like it would burst. So his room is right next door. We just finished talking about ideal types, and now I'm facing the man himself. This is so awkward. And you, Your Grace? I came out for some air between work. Dietrich looked down, fingering the ribbon. Miss Anchi, there is something I've been wanting to ask you. If you don't mind, could you give me a moment of your time? If you're curious about what I want to ask, I've actually been curious for a long time. About your reason for writing to Evangeline. Laurie let out a small sigh. After all, such behavior is indeed suspicious. When I sent that letter, the young lady was all alone. It's only natural he would be suspicious, especially since this letter came from a low-ranking noble. To be honest, I just needed a new friend. Laurie looked up again, a perfect curve on her lips. I did have so-called friends before, but because of personality differences, I could never fit in with them. Dietrich turned his head slightly. Are you referring to those people you associated with before? Miss Lopez and Lord Gusto? Laurie looked up, her tone becoming firm. That's right. I have annulled the engagement and cut all ties with them. Annulled the engagement? Dietrich's gaze moved slightly, revealing a hint of surprise. At the moment I decided to find new friends, Laurie leaned against the terrace railing, a faint smile on her lips. That young lady came to mind. She stood in the middle of a bustling ballroom crowd, but didn't speak to anyone. That sense of loneliness was identical to mine. That is why I sent the letter. Only the young lady replied to my letter. Even though I looked so gloomy, she had no prejudice against me. Laurie clasped her hands to her chest, a brilliant smile blooming on her face. She is my truest friend, accepting the real me with all her heart. Dietrich fell into silence, his gaze flickering slightly in the moonlight. That is truly wonderful. He let out a soft sigh, a relieved smile appearing on his face. It seems my sister can also be someone's salvation. I originally thought I was the only person in this world who cared about that child. Laurie's eyes widened. In that moment, I felt like I saw something real. It wasn't the dignity of a duke, nor the politeness of a social setting. It was Dietrich's own gentlest smile. Laurie cupped her face with her hands. This scene is simply unbelievable. It's like I've glimpsed a hidden plot point that even the protagonist never saw. Dietrich turned around. Speaking of which, what did you think of today's salon? Laurie snapped back to reality. The salon was wonderful. Were all those artworks on display personally selected by you, Your Grace? Many of them were chosen by Evangeline, and some were selected through a public call. Of course, the final review was done by me. Speaking of which, did she not complain to you during the preparation? Dietrich turned his head, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. She didn't make any excessive demands of you, did she, Miss Anchi? In the Duke's eyes, the young lady is still a child after all. Laurie gave a gentle smile. As I mentioned before, she completed all the work with great responsibility. Dietrich lowered his eyes, his expression becoming somewhat complex. This is the first time I've given her such a task. It's inevitable that I would feel worried. I would be more at ease if she weren't burdened by such heavy work. He seems overprotective. Laurie watched the man. Is it because he inherited the title at such a young age that he carries such a heavy sense of responsibility? If your grace could also occasionally lay down your burden and rest for a while, it would be good. Laurie spoke softly. Is your workload very heavy? You seem a bit tired. Dietrich gripped the railing with both hands. I'm Fina. This is just my daily work. Even so, please do not work late into the night. Your health is what matters most. Dietrich was slightly taken aback, a gentle smile spreading across his lips. The same goes for you, Miss Anchi. Laurie instantly held her breath, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. Almost got completely captivated by this face again. I think we should both get some rest tonight. Good night, Your Grace. Please wait, Miss Anchi. Dietrich spoke suddenly. Laurie stopped and turned her head back in confusion. Could I ask you to promise me one thing? Let us not count tonight's encounter as the meeting we previously agreed upon. I mean the next formal meeting I mentioned at the salon. Laurie's eyes widened, her breathing suddenly becoming rapid. What is he saying? What on earth does this mean? Laurie's fingertips trembled. Of course. When we meet next time, I will greet you with proper etiquette, Your Grace. She bowed deeply. If you keep talking like that, it's almost like you're asking me out. I'll really start to misunderstand. Laurie let out a long breath. This sudden sense of intimacy was truly hard to handle. He truly was a brother who adored his sister. But what was this unsettling sense of excitement? If she continued to be entangled with him, she would sooner or later have a direct confrontation with Sarah. Laurie's eyes widened, her pupils contracting sharply with unease. Wait, even if I can avoid that situation, what about the young lady? Laurie's mind filled with the image of Evangeline. That's right. If Sarah really becomes her sister-in-law, the person who will be least able to accept that ending is probably Evangeline herself. She had to find an exit to change fate before everything became irredeemable. Instead of blindly running away from the current situation, it was better to stay by his side and prepare countermeasures in advance to deal with Sarah's schemes. Make up your mind. For now, I only need to consider the young lady. Laurie slowly closed her eyes. Only this young lady is the one I must protect. An exquisite gift box is suddenly opened, revealing neatly arranged dark blue tea canisters inside. The velvet ribbon, tied into a perfect bow, shimmers with a faint glint under the light. What is this? Larry looks down at the gift box before her, a hint of confusion in her eyes. This is tea produced in the Claudius territory, Evangeline says, leaning in briskly. My brother insisted on giving it to you as a gift, sent by the Duke. Heaven knows where he found that ribbon, and he even tied it into this bow himself. Evangeline says with a bright smile and a playful tone. Is it really necessary to go to such trouble just to return a ribbon? Larry lowers her gaze, staring at the exquisite packaging. I understand. I will accept it with gratitude, Miss Ansi. Evangeline suddenly lowers her voice, a mischievous and excited expression appearing on her face, her eyes sparkling with the light of gossip. What exactly is going on between you two? Evangeline crosses her arms, pressing closer. Why would my brother give a gift to Miss Ansi? Caught off guard, Larry stammers that. That's probably because I'm your friend, my lady. How strange. My brother has always been impatient with such things. A playful smile hangs on the corner of Evangeline's mouth. Fine, say what you will. Go and rest. I'll write to you again, Evangeline says, waving her hand. She turns toward the door. Even if you reply to my brother, I'll pretend I don't know anything. Evangeline covers her mouth and lets out a light laugh. You really are a popular young lady. My lady, it's really not like that. Larry shakes her head frantically, her hands waving wildly in front of her chest. The sound of wheels rolling over the ground fades into the distance. Maybe I should go tease my brother. It's been a long time since I've seen him look flustered. Dietrich sits at his desk, hands crossed under his chin. Miss Ansi helped you a lot with this matter. Wouldn't it be a breach of etiquette to let her leave without a proper gift? Evangeline's face is written with disbelief. But I already had a dress custom-made for Miss Ansi. I even personally took her to see the artworks in the Star Hall. Isn't that enough? You did well. I just thought every detail should be handled thoughtfully, which is why I prepared a gift myself. Dietrich says, flipping through documents without looking up. But this is the first time you've ever given a gift to a woman, brother. That's only because the circumstances are special. Dietrich casually turns a page. She guided my dear sister into handling practical affairs. Shouldn't I show some sincerity? You know that's not what I meant. Evangeline stares at him. I'm afraid I don't understand. Dietrich picks up a quill, the nib scratching across the paper. Fine. Then I'm going to give Miss Ansi a gift too. She turns abruptly, her skirt tracing a decisive arc in the air. Let me borrow Mr. Douglas. Dietrich finally stops writing. What do you need the family lawyer for? Because our contract needs to be renewed. Evangeline turns sideways, a confident curve touching her lips. No longer as temporary friends, but as formal partners. Excuse me, my lady. Larry clutches the contract tightly, her fingertips trembling slightly from a force. No matter how I look at it, there seems to be something wrong with this contract. What do you mean by wrong? Evangeline crosses her legs, her toe tapping the floor with a soft, rhythmic sound. I spent days reviewing it very carefully. But regarding this clause about the maintenance fee, Larry holds the contract, looking somewhat uneasy. Oh, I see. I was worried it would be a burden for you, so I intentionally wrote a smaller amount. Is that still not enough? She suddenly leans in. With a bright smile on her face, she asks, should we change the payment from once a quarter to once a month? Evangeline puts her index finger to her chin, her eyes sparkling with excitement. That way, you'll be able to buy enough clothes to burst your wardrobe. Wait a minute. Larry's eyes widen. What on earth are you talking about? As for why I've fallen into this state of unstoppable hiccups, it all started 4 days after the salon. Miss Ansi, arriving as scheduled, Evangeline, holding a black parasol and accompanied by a lawyer, walks in slowly. Welcome, my lady. Larry stands to the side, hands folded in front of her. I only just received your notice of visit. I'm afraid I haven't had time to prepare proper refreshments. No need to worry. I brought some myself. It should have been me preparing to welcome you. I'm so sorry. Larry bows her head, her hands fidgeting nervously. Put the cake away for now. I'll be leaving soon, Evangeline says with a wave of her hand, her expression composed. This is a cake I bought from my favorite shop. I brought it specifically for you to try. After all, today is a special day. Miss Ansi, a special day? Larry looks up, her eyes filled with blankness and confusion. Miss Ansi, the accompanying lawyer adjusts his glasses and places a thick document on the table. Did you think I only came with sweets? I'm here to renew our contract with this formal friendship contract. A confident smile hangs on Evangeline's lips. Oh my, this really is a special day. Larry takes the thick document. Her cheeks flush with excitement. I didn't expect that I could officially become. She holds her breath, her eyes locked on the clauses of the contract, her expression gradually turning from surprise to stultification. Article 1. Evangeline von Claudius shall pay Lariat Ansi 50,000 decks per quarter as a maintenance fee. What? Larry's eyes snap wide. 50,000 decks. What on earth is this, my lady? The scream pierces through the roof of the manor, echoing endlessly in the quiet afternoon. To be honest, I was completely stunned by this sudden development. My lady. Larry's hands hover over the contract, her face pale from sheer shock. This amount is not small at all. It's overly generous. And why do you need to pay for my maintenance in the first place? So what? Evangeline sits opposite her, her posture elegant and composed. Aren't we going to deal with Miss Lopez together? She picks up her teacup, a cold, sharp determination in her eyes. You need a proper battle uniform, a magnificent dress that will make her go mad with jealousy. Is there a problem with that? I have plenty of money. I just want to invest in someone I like. Evangeline sets down the teacup, the porcelain clinking sharply. But, as I said, this is also for myself. After all, we'll be appearing together. Within my territory, everything must be kept in perfect order. She pauses suddenly. That last sentence was directed at what I said. Evangeline clears her throat, her finger against her chin, her gaze slightly hesitant. Including you. I should revise the scope. To all living beings. Anyway, sign it quickly. The Claudius family is the wealthiest in the empire, so there's no need to worry. She pushes the contract to the center of the table. I am my lady's first friend. In that case, she picks up the quill, the nib sliding across the paper with light strokes. I will only use this money when I am with you. In that case, I'll end up picking out every single one of your clothes. You know that, right? A playful smirk curls on Evangeline's lips. You won't regret saying that, will you? I'll never regret it. Holding the formal friendship contract, Larry's cheeks flush red, her eyes shining with an unprecedented light. I'm so happy. We're formal friends now, no longer temporary ones. She holds the contract high and spins around lightheartedly. I'm going to treasure this like a family heirloom. Is that necessary? You're really this excited over a piece of paper? Even without proof, we've already become people whose hearts are connected. Larry stops, a gentle smile on her face. So, it's true there's no need to be so excited over a contract, but this bears the footprints of our shared intentions. I just can't help but feel happy. It's like a knight's oath to protect one another. My lady, we must be the first pair of friends to have such proof. I suppose so. Probably something like that. Evangeline leans back, one hand to her forehead, seemingly unable to handle the other's pure passion. You think so too, right? I'm truly so happy. Larry laughs heartily. Her eyes curve into crescent moons. More importantly, Miss Ansi, to celebrate the signing of the contract, how about we go out now? She takes a long-handled parasol from a maid. Are you saying we're going to use that maintenance fee right away. What we're looking at today isn't just clothes. The person who really needs to show a keen eye isn't me, but you, Miss Ansi. She straightens her back and looks at the young girl. Me? Larry points to herself, looking confused. Exactly. I need you to help me with something. You'll accompany me, right? It would be my honor. She looks up sharply, a brilliant smile blooming on her face, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Sunlight spills over the busy streets. The carriage stops in front of a sophisticated boutique. Between these two, Evangeline holds up an exquisite teacup in each hand, her fingertips steadying the bases. And this one, which one do you think is prettier? Personally, I prefer this one. Larry points, pointing to the deep red teacup. So the help you needed was picking out tea sets. This is actually quite cute. Larry rests her chin in her hands, her lips curling upward. Goo, this is a very important matter. Evangeline looks up and counters solemnly. I'm selecting a brand new set of tea sets for the manor. This time, I've decided to personally take over the internal management of the house, and my brother has already approved it. Oh my, is my lady going to manage the manor herself? This is a great opportunity to consolidate your position. As you said, this is indeed a very serious and major matter. In that case, instead of just listening to my opinion, you should consider the people who will actually use these things. Also, don't just look at this one shop. You should compare prices across different merchant guilds. This is an internal affair of the Duke's residence. I shouldn't overstep my bounds. Larry suddenly stops and closes her eyes, letting out an awkward, bitter laugh. I'm sure you already have a plan in mind, my lady. You aren't overstepping. I want to hear your opinion, Miss Ansi. Evangeline leans in suddenly, looking Larry straight in the eye with a firm and sincere tone. Since we're talking about this, it would be wonderful if you could help me just like you did at the salon. Evangeline folds her hands under her chin, her eyes shimmering with expectation. Ugh, she's actually using her beauty to tempt me. This is definitely cheating. Larry turns her head away sharply, her cheeks flushed bright red, her hands waving randomly in front of her. That time was an emergency. But this is the management of the Duke's residence. An outsider like me shouldn't be so bold as to interfere. My brother has already approved it. He's allowed you to assist me. Please wait a moment, my lady. Larry freezes in place, her mind going blank. Approved? The Duke. He actually allowed me to interfere in internal affairs? Why do both of you trust me so much? Larry wails toward the sky, falling into a state of near-collapsed confusion. Her cry echoes over the street. Dietrich is sitting at his desk, focused on handling official documents. His ears suddenly itch. He feels like someone is talking about him behind his back. Larry turns, her expression worried. My lady, you can't let an outsider interfere in household matters. Even if the Duke allowed it this. Evangeline puts her hands on her hips. Why would Miss Ansi be an outsider? You are my friend. Larry lowers her head slightly. Even so, I cannot arbitrarily interfere in the internal affairs of the residence. Evangeline steps forward, her skirt swaying gently with her movement. It's just the manor's budget anyway. Besides, I truly want to learn because your taste and accounting sense are excellent. Evangeline stops, recalling the preparations for the salon. Back then, when I was with Miss Ansi, I felt like I finally had a place where I was useful, like I could truly contribute. Larry folds her hands, looking a bit constrained. My lady. Evangeline tilts her head. Oh, right. If you need to be compensated for this, too. Larry steps forward abruptly and grabs the other woman's arms tightly. I'll do it. My lady. So please don't mention money again. Evangeline gazes at the face so close to hers, the corners of her mouth curling up slightly. Then I'll be counting on you again. Miss Ansi. Evangeline picks up her teacup. Shall we start with some market research? Larry nods slightly. Sound good. I've already prepared a list. Evangeline leans in, her eyes filled with excitement. Today we'll start with furniture, wallpaper, and tableware, and flowers for the garden. Larry's eyes widen. You don't intend to buy all of those today, do you? Evangeline spreads her hands. Before deciding to buy, we must look at various styles. Besides, today is just for browsing. Larry watches the excited figure from behind. She's as thrilled as a girl who just moved into her first apartment. Although she knows the Duke's family possesses astronomical wealth, from today, she seems to have a tendency toward extravagance. I should start correcting that habit now. Larry reaches for the doorknob, her fingers pressing down with a sharp click. Fine, we will look at everything, but buy nothing. You're just browsing today, understood? Evangeline tilts her chin up slightly. Of course, I am a woman of my word. A few hours later, Larry bends over, her hands clutching the handle of her parasol, her body trembling slightly from exhaustion. My arms and legs are shaking because we've walked so much. The florist was the last stop. I really let my guard down just because we didn't go to look at dresses. She sat on pretty chairs 41 times, inspected every single item in the tableware shop, and even held a debate over wallpaper. She absolutely won't rest until she finds something she likes. Larry stops and looks at Evangeline not far away. Even so, seeing her so happy makes me happy too. Larry stops and turns her head toward a glass display case. Her eyes are drawn to an object inside the counter. Wow, this pen is so beautiful. It looks so elegant, as if only a beautiful person should use it. Larry stares at the exquisite patterns on the pen, falling into thought. Does the Duke use things like this when he works? Larry's eyes widen slightly, her eyelashes fluttering. Speaking of which, when he gave me the gift, it came with a ribbon. I should return the handkerchief. So, should I also give him a gift? Evangeline approaches silently and whispers in her ear. What are you looking at? Larry starts violently, her body swaying as she lets out a scream. My lady. Evangeline tilts her head, watching the startled Larry. What is it? Why are you so scared? That's a fountain pen. Do you want to buy one? Larry smooths her chest, her fingertips trembling slightly. It's not for me. Does the Duke of Claudius use this kind of pen? He is such a dignified person. So would this design be inappropriate? Evangeline stops and looks Larry straight in the eye. Do you want to give a gift to my brother, Miss Ancy? Larry waves her hands hurriedly, her cheeks heating up. Well, he gave me tea last time. Evangeline rests her chin in her hands, a playful smile on her lips. Is this a gift completely devoid of romantic feelings? How suspicious. Larry explains hurriedly, I just thought this design would suit the Duke well. This one suits you very well, my lady. How about this one? I thought we weren't buying anything today. No, I mean, if I were to give it to you as a gift. If you just want to give me a return gift, then don't buy it. Larry falls silent. Evangeline lets out a soft laugh. Just kidding. This pen is really beautiful. It truly suits my brother. Try giving it to him. I'm sure he'll like it. Aside from formal gifts between noble houses or the imperial family, he rarely receives personal gifts like this. After all, he's a man who only knows work. Larry shows a surprised expression. I thought he would receive many gifts from young ladies. That's surprising. Evangeline puts a finger to her chin. In the past, he did receive many courtship gifts and letters, but my brother would directly refuse or return anything expensive. Once that reputation spread, now people mostly just send invitations. I think everyone is content with admiring him from a distance now. Larry falls into deep thought. Right, in the original story, the Duke only had eyes for Sarah. I didn't know he even avoided gifts from ladies. Larry reaches out, her fingertips lightly grazing the edge of the counter. But my gift is just to return the handkerchief, so it should be fine, right? Evangeline suddenly grabs Larry's shoulders. What are you doing? Aren't you going to buy it? Larry's body stiffens, her eyes a bit frantic. Evangeline pulls Larry's hand. Hurry up before someone else takes it. Larry is dragged toward the counter, her steps stumbling. Okay. Larry picks up the heavy wooden gift box. It's lid inlaid with exquisite metal decorations that make a soft, clinking sound. Larry stares at the box in her hands. She ended up urging me to buy it, after all. Evangeline rests her chin in one hand, a mischievous smile curling on her lips. I'll pretend I don't know about this until Miss Ancy gives it to my brother. Larry looks at her excited companion. She seems even more excited than I am. What exactly is she planning to pretend she doesn't know? Thank you for sending me back, my lady. Evangeline pushes open the carriage window. It's fine. I'll send a carriage to pick you up tomorrow, too. Larry stands in front of the manor, watching the magnificent carriage depart. Safe travels, my lady. See you tomorrow. Rest well, Miss Ancy. Larry stands on the steps, waving her arm vigorously until the silhouette of the carriage disappears at the end of the street. Larry lets out a soft laugh, looking somewhat proud. He. While she wasn't paying attention, I bought a gift for her too. I'll give it to her before class tomorrow. Will she like it? A rustling sound comes from bushes. A figure slowly emerges. Larry, you're finally here. Sarah stands in the shadows of the trees, her expression dark. We need to talk. Larry stops abruptly, her eyes filled with shock. What? Why are you standing here? More importantly, didn't you read my letter? I said we shouldn't meet again. Sarah takes a step forward. Exactly. That letter is what I want to talk about. Sarah suddenly reaches out and grabs Larry's wrist tightly, her movement rough and determined. Amy, the maid lets out a gasp. Miss, the gift box in Larry's hand slips and falls heavily to the ground. Larry turns her head, forcing herself to stay calm to comfort the maid behind her. It's okay, Amy. I'm just going to talk for a bit and we'll be back soon. Please put these things away. I've never seen Miss Lopez like this. I don't know what made her so angry. Will the mistress be okay? Larry is dragged through the bushes, branches scratching against her skirt with a rustling sound. Larry watches Sarah's back, her heart full of doubt. Why would someone who cares so much about her image act so aggressively and in front of others? Sarah finally stops. Since when did it start? Sarah glares at her, a chill in her eyes. Since when did you stop caring about me? Was it starting from the Johnson family's tea party, or even before that? Larry's brow furrows. Why are you asking this now? Sarah, obsessing over these questions won't solve the problems between us. A twisted curve appears on Sarah's lips. Now, you're actually saying now? Especially at a time like this. Sarah steps forward, her skirt rubbing against the grass with a sharp sound. Why are you pushing me away? Before, no matter what I asked, you would always smile and agree. You clearly said you liked being with me. Sarah suddenly rushes forward, her hands pinning Larry's shoulders tightly, her face contorted with rage, her eyes full of madness and resentment. All these years, you never complained once. Now you suddenly say you don't like me? Why did you go to find the princess? You were always on my side. You are my friend. Sarah lets out a shrill roar that echoes through the trees. You belong to me. Larry freezes in place, staring at this unfamiliar face. That Sarah, who always chose such pure words, was actually saying things like this. Larry's breath hitches. She has finally revealed her true colors. The story of the original work is completely collapsing.